Hey, Nick.
Hey, Tys.
How are you, man?
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Welcome
this is
to-
weird. I need to bend.
Yeah,
a
you
bit.
are sitting
Sorry.
quite leisurely.
I am. It's
this
lovely.
evening. I'm
Well,
glad
there's
you
a
think
reason
so.
behind it.
Well, we are in a different location this evening for Nick Tys and Videotape.
We are.
We're having a bit of a fucking seaside adventure
I like
for
it.
the last couple of weeks. We've
Yeah.
been in my boring
Your
empty room,
Your tax office. Yep.
my tax office. Now we're in my living room,
Yep.
set up in a quite interesting fashion because
We
we have
are.
some very exciting news this
Yes,
week
for
on
everyone.
Nick Tys and Videotape.
Uh-huh.
We have a special guest.
Yay!
We would like to welcome to my living room, Jemima. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Jemima. How are you?
Hi.
I'm
It's-
very happy to be here.
I'm so glad that you agreed to come along and have a chat with us on our
Yeah.
show. It's super exciting.
Me too.
Jemima, we've known each other for a very long time.
We have since 2008.
Oh,
Wow.
holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, just to give the listeners a little bit of a background, we worked together at the JB Hi-Fi in... Well, we don't need to tell people that.
Yeah,
the actual
Don't
location.
give
No.
it. Don't give it.
we
Don't give
were
a
both
location.
we were in DVDs together.
We
and
were.
That's a special bond, and it's relevant, I think, to our being here
Absolutely.
today.
Current
Absolutely.
situation.
I think of the days that, all the times that we would have to spend talking about movies because you needed a way to pass 8.5 hours
That's it.
while staring at movies all day. And I think
Mm.
we ended up,
yeah.
And isn't
So
it
most-
good? Because I've had this before as well.
well, we're all JB Hi-Fi.
Yeah, we are. We are all JB Hi-Fi-ians. Is
Yeah,
that
whatever.
Sure.
No, I can't think of a better one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Up to.
If you do find someone that works with you that has sort of the same likes and the same, well, not the same, but can talk about that topic, it makes the time.
I think,
fly by.
I think it's more important that we could have a normal conversation about it
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
not feel like we were talking to an idiot.
No, but like I'm definitely combative though. You know.
Oh, this
Nice.
is what I appreciate. I think
Yeah.
we disagreed more than we agreed about movies.
Yeah.
Oh, so
But
you,
there was
so you
still
know
there
you're
was
combative.
love there, so
Of
it was
course.
okay. Like there was
Exactly.
respect, which is important.
But
yeah.
Oh, I like that.
we're very excited to bring you on. We're talking about a movie from 1998 today, Rush Hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very excited to get to that. But before we get onto that, Jemima, I wouldn't mind asking you a couple of things about your kind of how you
World.
came to love movies the way you do, and what kind of
Ooh.
exposure you've had.
Jeez, that's a
'cause
deep
you've had a couple
question.
of things. Well, we had a
Yeah.
bit of a chat about it in our first episode, and I thought it might be nice that when we do have guests,
Yeah.
they don't have to
Definitely.
get
Good one.
too
Yeah.
crazy
Good one.
about
I
it.
like it.
No, of course. It's a big question. I guess my dad spent a lot of time on the couch watching movies, so
Sure.
so did I guess. We went to the cinemas a lot. He liked the older stuff, but Mum liked the interesting stuff. And I mean, my favorite story to tell is that we were in the video store in 2001 when A Clockwork Orange came out as the 30th anniversary
Yeah.
DVD.
Right.
So I show up, this is in Ivanhoe. My dad's like, you are never to watch this film. It's so violent. There's a woman, she gets gang raped, and he was very sensitive about it.
Sure.
So,
You watched it that next weekend?
well, next week I show up with Mum and she goes, oh, Clockwork Orange. and we sat down, we watched it, and we laughed, and we had a great time. I was 12. Like,
You're 12?
yeah, so like
Wow.
it was a real crash course for me, and I'm still a gigantic Kubrick fan. Like Eyes Wide Shut's my absolute favorite film. So
Wow.
yeah, and Barry
Big call.
Lyndon is way up there in like
I
top
remember,
sort of 5
yeah.
or 6. So
Shout
I
out.
mentioned Barry Lyndon in the in that video that I made.
That's
recently.
yeah, that must have been it.
Yeah.
I knew you had a
so-
Barry Lyndon association somehow.
Yeah, and I mean, I've tried to write on films, and I did for a while, and I did okay, but if you're not able to, I'm still writing on films. Sure, like I wrote this
Aren't we all
800-word
writing on
essay.
films?
That's it. Like, and I'm still talking on a podcast. That's writing on a film. Why not? So
Absolutely.
I call myself a film critic, I guess. And
Sure.
I think people sometimes care what I think. So that's something, right?
That is
Like,
something.
I don't know if I have a readership or a listenership, but I'm sure I want one. So
It's a foot in. Come on.
That's it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Tell us a little
Exactly.
bit about Screen Sect.
So I took over. Screen Sect is a film night that runs Monday nights at Bar Open in Fitzroy.
Cool.
It's been running for it's 11th year now, and now it is run. I ran it for 2 years. And I don't know, I think I was trying to do like a Melbourne Cinematheque impression the whole time.
Sure.
But it's been taken over by a former attendee, and that's how I took it over as
Cool.
well. So Tom Marinelli is running it now, and he's amazing. And I went the other night and I caught the end of John Frankenheimer's The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Cool. Yeah, he's been doing a bit of a Frankenheimer kind of month or something.
Also, you
hasn't
still
he?
okay?
I'm
Great.
still,
so
I still follow it.
Yeah,
I really wanted to come down and watch Manchurian Candidate. 'Cause I thought that would have been really cool.
Well, I didn't get to make it that week either. But anyway, so Tom is also, he's doing, I think he's actually running it a lot better than I used to.
Sure.
He puts all these trailers in. He has these like lovely little talks and everything afterward. And I was probably, I don't know, I was either more cagey or I was just like, I think I managed to stretch like an Elaine May like into 2 months or something, like
Why
an
not?
Elaine May season, and she only directed 4 films. So like how does that make
Wow.
sense for 7 weeks
That's
of content?
intense.
So
Wow.
you know, that's it. Like I was trying to do
That's
something
deep. It was
different,
deep.
and but you know, it's good that it lives on, and Adam who started it is really happy about it too. So
Awesome. So this is every
definitely
Monday night.
Every Monday night, get
Amazing.
down there. It's free, and I think they have like $10 jugs up until 8:00. So
Good
you
deal.
can get your
Cool.
drink on, and
Well, yeah, we're very excited to have you, Jemima. It's awesome for you to join us.
Absolutely.
I'm
That's-
thrilled. I'm very comfortable too, and
And I'm gonna say your name a lot because I love it.
yeah, that's great.
You're the
I
first
like
Jemima
Nick
I've
a lot
known.
too. That's a good name.
do?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
thanks.
Tyson.
Thanks.
And
We got around to it eventually. I appreciate that.
Beautiful.
Very
Yeah.
kind.
You've never been called Ty, have you?
No, I don't like Ty.
You don't like
Yeah.
Ty?
I like Tys.
Interesting. I like Tys too.
I like
Yeah.
Tys.
Hey, so why don't we take this opportunity and start talking some trailers? Everybody's talking
Trailers.
And we can go.
And we're back in. Hey.
That's the moment. Okay, well, let's talk some trailers. Who would like to go
Trailers.
first?
Me,
Would
because
you
we're
like
all
to go
going to want to
first?
talk about this one.
Okay, was it the
Absolutely.
same
let's
one?
let's have a guest
The
first.
new It trailer.
I
That
did
is-
want to talk about it as well.
That's the exact same trailer I want to talk about as well.
Oh, good.
Well, then how do
The
we all
It
feel
tra-
about the It trailer?
Oh,
Jemima,
I think
do
it
you-
looks
I'm foaming.
fantastic,
I'm foaming.
honestly. And I'm hugely cynical about like the whole remake thing. I have to say, just generally, and maybe that's, I don't know, but
Well, this is where I wrote down some of my notes, because if you are going to remake anything, because the original It was a miniseries that went, if you watch it in one sitting, goes for 4 hours. 4 hours.
Yeah, it was a made-for-television.
Yeah, it was a
thing,
made for
so-
Yeah.
television thing. So if you are going to remake anything, not that I'm a big fan of the original. I don't know. The actor who's playing Pennywise for me has some big shoes to fill.
Bill Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård.
who
yeah.
is that?
He's one of the Skarsgårds.
No,
Is
he's
he?
not. No, he's not related.
Oh, he's
I
not.
looked it up. He's not related.
No, really?
No.
He must be.
No, he's not.
Okay, well,
No.
No, I thought that they had some other famous-ish person linked to that initially, because I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna recognize them in the makeup," and then
yes, there was
There
someone.
was.
I don't know
initially.
who this
Who
is.
was that?
It was.
It's not-
Do you know who it was?
Probably not
No,
Johnny
it
Depp,
was
but you know,
the
like
kid.
some
It was
shit
the
like
kid
that.
with the big furry eyebrows
Yeah.
from Where the Millers. Who
Yes,
had
that's
his-
it.
Who
Who got his dick
Oh.
bitten by a
By the
spider?
tarantula.
Oh, that's just cruel,
and he was
isn't
in
it? Like,
he was in one of the Maze Runner or something.
Yeah.
he's a child, though. He can't.
Exactly.
He was
He
it
can't
was
be
going
a
to be him.
creepy old man clown. Like,
I don't even think this
Alright.
guy's particularly old. I think
Yeah,
he's
he's
pretty
20.
young.
He's 26. But yeah.
oh, that's so young.
But he looks terrifying.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Tyson?
Yeah, I
But
I
similarly
struggled.
terrifying, like certainly. I mean, like the makeup job is not.
Yeah. Will
It
Will
doesn't-
Pouter. Pouter.
That's his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
that's who it's gonna
doesn't.
be.
It's not a big step away from Tim Curry's.
From Tim Curry's. No, but
makeup,
they've kind of done the
certainly.
thing, and this is what we were talking about once before. Well, maybe when we talked about this,
We have, because of
the
up
conversation
and
about
coming
clowns are
2017.
terrifying, and I'm like, clowns are only terrifying when their makeup is terrifying.
Well, this is. I was talking to a.
What is a non-terrifying clown?
Like a
I
normal
don't know.
clown.
No way. What are you
What's a
kidding me?
normal clown?
Oh,
like Ronald McDonald? Like I don't.
That's
he's
terrifying.
scary.
But in any context, right? It is.
Yes.
You'll notice that like This clown doesn't look just like a normal clown. The way the makeup is angled certain ways. There's a bit of dirt to it.
He's a
There's
dirty
bit of grit
clown.
to
Yeah,
it.
I know.
That's where the kind of it's cleverly designed. Like if it's someone's dad in like a cheap clown suit who's just kind of, hey kids, and
John Wayne
that's not
Gacy.
scary.
That is so scary. John Wayne Gacy. What are you insane?
If you're jumping to the assumption that every person that works as a clown is a serial killer.
Yes.
Comfortable
Pretty
with that
much.
assumption? Okay.
I do. Look, I understand what you're saying because the Tim Curry's clown was clean. It was nice, apart from some teeth, and that wasn't very scary. The thing is, though,
his clown was terrifying.
Exactly.
He
Exactly.
swapped in
I agree
between.
with you.
He went from when it was just kind of.
But he didn't go the dirty clown. That's the thing. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, we went demon teeth.
Yeah, that's it. But other than that, he was quite clean. But put a clean clown in the middle of nowhere, and he's scary as hell. But the difference is between this clown is the dirty, scary naked
clown. I mean that supposes. I'm sorry that the normal clown is dirty or on
dirty
drugs.
Clowns.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's like a hustling thing.
Dirty clown.
The clown that's
we
had
got
a few
nothing
days
against
off the
people
gear.
who work professionally as clowns. Like
We bow down to
in
you.
fact, congratulations. That is
Tough gig.
That yeah.
If you've got it down though.
So
what do you? I'm gonna ask you, Tyson. Actually, no. I'm gonna say Jemima because I like Jemima's name.
Right.
So why did you like this trailer then? Why did this? Were you excited?
No. I can't. Like, I mean, particularly with sort of genre stuff, and I don't know who's directing it. Do we know?
It's the same guy that directed
Mama.
Mama, and
Which was
not very good. Did you say but it was amazing?
Mama was actually quite good.
Okay, so horror film director.
Well, that's the only other one that he's done. He hasn't done much, and his name is Andreas Muschietti. I'm going to say it like that. Sure. Yeah. So he's only done one other film.
I think it looks good. There were things that I saw in the trailer that I recognized, obviously, from the original film. There were things that I did not recognize, which is exciting.
Yep.
My friend and I were talking about how there was something fun about the idea of the way that the frames in some of the trailer had they were populated with a lot of people, which is it's an exciting way of directing, acting, and conversation. So that I kind of liked about it. But it was scary.
Yeah.
Like I watched it a couple of times, and I'm like, this could freak me out.
It's good
That's exciting.
to see something like a trailer that's genuinely scary. I think if you can achieve that in 2.5 minutes,
well done.
Like,
it
really
Seriously,
bodes well for the film itself. Because even if you watch something like The Bye Bye Man, right?
I don't know what that is.
Because it's the perfect example
of
just hideous studio horror film that just sounds like the worst idea ever.
Yeah.
But you watch the trailer for that, and even then you're like, it's jump scares, and it's like, it's that noises and things happening, and you're just like, well, none of this is working for me at all.
Yeah.
This was like quite a large amount of this trailer was a kid following a paper boat down the street.
Yep.
And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
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 Like, and so the mood it set was incredibly effective.
Yeah.
I thought.
Have you seen the original? You've seen the original?
Yeah, a very long time ago, and I've read about half of the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason it's huge. The reason that I like this trailer is because I think if you don't know if you're coming fresh to Stephen King's It explained it all for you. It was quite good. It's not as if you had to know what it is. And then there were things for fans as well. As soon as you saw SS Georgie, I foamed at the mouth. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, that was cute.
I didn't even need him to pop up in the drain, if anything. I'd rather just know.
I know. I wondered if they were going to do it. I'm just like...
it was just so beautiful.
They hung on that moment,
and just
you
got
a perfect amount of time. I
exactly.
thought, where it just stayed. It just did not move. The shot just stayed on it, and you were just like, "Is it going to happen? Is it going to pop out? Is it going to pop? It's going to pop out now. It's going to pop out now." And it was just the perfect amount. I thought it was really clever.
The scares as well were very. There is a lot more atmosphere than what I remember in the film originally. Like, particularly in that scene, like, he's just suddenly there talking to the kid from the drain. Yeah. And it actually looks like, when you think about it, it looks ridiculous and it's terrifying because of how, like, plain and silly it is.
I mean, because we're all so familiar now with the crazy fucking terrifying clown that is the feature character in it.
Yeah.
We all knew what we were waiting for. We were
Yeah.
all waiting for it to appear, and I think it did it pretty well.
It did.
Um,
That shot with the eyes, the yellow eyes coming out of the water.
coming out of the water,
Oh,
really great.
It was bliss.
And and not too much. There was the one moment where he kind of runs
Yeah.
through the basement, and it's this weird kind of there's a bit
Oh.
of a weird camera kind of shake thing, and that was a bit kind of hokey. But
Oh, it was so
everything else, though,
It
it's very plain. It's
So
very, it's not all these weird hard cuts. It's not all this kind of off-putting like CGI to make people's faces look weird or kind of augmented. It was all just very plain and matter of fact and in front of
was
you,
good,
and I thought
wasn't
that
it?
was kind of cool.
Do you get the impression that they really time sort of stamped it as well? Like, is it going to be... I mean, I got a real Stranger Things vibe, obviously,
Yeah.
seeing the 4 little boys
Yes.
or whatever. Standing might have been more. I'm not sure.
It was 7.
But
The lucky 7. Yeah.
Is it all 7?
in the
Yeah, it
scene
was
with the
all the 7.
basement, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved that carousel shot.
But
That
yeah,
was fun.
I like that as well. Like I looked into it, like rewatching it actually before I came here, because I wanted to know that actual question: are they setting it now, or are they setting it back then? And they're setting it back then by the look of all the cars on the street.
Yeah, the cars, and no one
Yeah.
uses a carousel, like a slide projector carousel anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just
Um,
hoping that it doesn't get like rubbed in our face a whole lot. But then again, you kind of
the
know
nostalgic value of
that's
that
it.
time
But
period.
also then, who is the audience?
Exactly.
If
yeah.
that is the case, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Well, I don't think the audience.
I would. Well,
Well,
I think
you
they,
know
I think
what?
they are piggybacking off Stranger Things. I think it is a good thing. I think you don't want to set it in 2017.
No, but I mean, they're,
No, that
they're
wouldn't
intending
work,
to
no.
bring to do the story with the adults as well.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
So I mean, you couldn't. But I mean, are they? I don't know. Is it for new people? Like, do you reckon if you knew nothing about this story, would that trailer
I would
have
totally
got
go
you?
in. Hell yeah, scary clown.
yeah.
And
They didn't show the adults though at all, did they?
no,
But they're not in this one.
they're
This
not
is
going to
what-
do.
They're
yeah,
doing.
I
They're
think it's
focusing
a-
entirely on the children for this
Yeah.
for this one.
which is fine. They're separate stories.
Okay.
Like it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does work because there's a fairly strong ending to the children's
Yeah.
story
There is.
in the
Do you
book.
guys remember the problematic DVD release locally?
Wasn't it because you had to flip it over?
Yep. So
got
everyone
that.
would come in and say, "Hey,
That's right.
Hey,
there's
the
where's
that
the
film
one.
second
started
half?
halfway through," and I'm like, "Oh, you've got to flip the disc."
I think
Sorry.
I've still got a few
Wow.
flippable DVDs.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've got.
That is, I mean, that must
I've
be
still
like
got
a
that.
99 release or something.
Oh,
like
it was
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of
They
the
It was
first.
Dodge, man.
doing that
Dodge.
really early.
Actually, that's a reason to buy it on Blu-ray. Jeez. Yeah.
All right, well, it's a thumbs up all round. I think we're all going to be seeing this one.
Hell yeah.
I don't know how I'll cope.
Well,
seeing
this
it
is
in a
this is
cinema.
where I also want to bring. Can I talk about
yeah.
this? Okay. So a segment that we are going to have for all of our lovely listeners and Jemima as well, because she's lovely.
I'll be a lovely listener.
Yeah,
I'll-
absolutely. So one of the segments we're going to be doing is called, now find a better name if you can. It's called Terrorizing Tyson.
Oh,
Because Tyson
Oh.
is such a scaredy cat, he has let me pick movies to get him to watch, and he is going to watch them by himself
Oh, did we say by myself?
in the dark,
What?
Oh,
not during the day, Tyson.
No, this is all new
Tys,
information to me.
Tys, come on, buddy. Come on. You can watch them in the dark.
I don't know.
I know you're gonna be very brave, but we're
I
going
can't,
to
I can't have anyone with me. Like,
no.
a dog. One dog.
You can have your cat.
I have 2 cats, but there's no way they'll sit and watch me because I'll fucking scare the shit out of them when I jump.
All right. Well, maybe you can have someone with you. Maybe.
I'll never be able to talk.
All
My
right.
girlfriend
Well,
would be
this is
doing it, though. She would.
No, it has to be like
She'll
a
run away
really
quicker than
weird
me.
person.
But yeah. So we're gonna pick really weird someone off the bus.
You met on the street. Like,
You just need to come over to my house and watch a horror movie in the dark with me.
That is horrible. I'm not doing that to you. I wouldn't even do that to myself. Oh my god! But yeah, we pick a horror movie and we get Tys to watch it, and we will be.
We're gonna be filming
We'll be
this.
filming
Yeah.
you watching it as well.
okay, so have you got a suggestion anyway
Well, this
to
is
get us
this
started?
is where this would come in. So maybe we get him to watch Stephen King's It,
Oh.
the remake.
No, what was I gonna say?
I like
Have
Dead
you
Air.
seen Pet Cemetery? That's
Yes.
No.
That was a scary one.
Okay, so this is the thing though. A lot of I keep track of a lot of the what are the biggest jump scares. Like I know where they all are. I know which movies have them.
It's
Yeah.
the monkey in Anaconda 2. I squealed in the cinema.
Anaconda
Wow.
2?
Yeah.
Anaconda
I
2 in
know.
the cinema.
Ana-
The Curse of the
Anacondas.
Blood Orchard.
Is that what it
I
was? Yeah.
believe.
Oh
It
my
was-
god! I got
No.
some mad Anaconda fans.
I'm the most animated film watcher that there is as well. The Descent. Did you see that in the cinemas?
No, but I know this one.
Have you seen it at all?
No.
See, I needed to start taking
I
a tally.
physically hit my brother in the face.
Wow.
From a fright. Like my
Wow.
arms went flying out in fear. I don't know if we've been to a film since.
Wow.
That was
that would do it,
2004.
That was good. I made my wife watch The Descent, and midway through, they just got into the cave. I paused, went to make a cup of tea, came back, and I stumbled over her bra. And I went, "Why is your bra on the ground?" She's like, "I was feeling claustrophobic. Oh my God, this movie's full on."
I don't,
Get a
don't know.
freedom.
That's-
Yeah. I have to get out. I have to get
From the
out.
film.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So, we're going to start talking about what did we watch this week. Why don't we mix it up a bit? Why don't we start with Nick?
Start with me.
Yeah. What did you watch this week,
Oh,
man?
Mine's going to be a bit controversial. I'm going again with the horror.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, I rewatched The Visit
Okay. I
by
haven't seen it.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Jemima's made a face.
Oh, here we go.
I haven't seen
You
that.
haven't seen it.
That's one that
Neither
I
of you
haven't
have seen it.
seen.
Oh
No,
So where do we?
because
Okay,
I
go.
was so back on board with M. Night this year, though. Split was so much
Oh,
I
fun.
haven't
there we
seen
go.
Split.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see
So have you
Split.
seen The Visit, Tys?
No, man.
Okay, good, because this is on the terrorized Tys list.
Cool.
This has to be because it is that. It's just up a notch.
Sure.
So let's get the consensus of M. Night.
Okay, I'm a fan.
You're a fan?
My favorite film of his is The Village.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, this is why I love Jemima already. Tyson,
Yeah, I think we might have talked about this.
have we talked about this?
Like, super fan
yeah,
until The Village
yeah,
and
and then jumped
sudden drop off from Lady in the Water.
off.
Because I think Lady in the Water is
Never saw Lady in the
trash.
Water.
I
It looked
love-
really boring.
I loved Lady in the Water. It has a
Oh.
little. Yeah, it has a little.
You're the absolute only person
Absolutely.
in
One
the
of the
world
only. Yes,
that
I
likes
am.
Lady in the Water.
Yeah, I am.
And I've
I'm
struggled-
fine. And
That
to be
makes
honest,
you
I'm fine with that.
special.
I'm fine
That's
with that.
fine.
Well,
Yeah.
see, it's funny 'cause I thought I was the only person that liked The Village because I really liked
I
The
like The
Village.
Village.
I thought
Absolutely.
you said you didn't like it.
No,
oh,
no, I
oh.
No.
those first four, I think
Yeah.
A
Village
gold.
is probably
It was the drop
it's
off.
on
It
no,
was
it's on
was-
par with Signs for me. Village.
Oh, I
Signs. So
love
good with
Signs. Which
Signs.
is first of those two?
Signs,
Signs was
was
first.
I think Signs and Village
Oh.
are a slight step below Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, but only a little bit.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that they're the better two.
You like those two better?
Yeah, personally, yeah.
But yeah, this is where The Visit, for those of you who don't know, is about two children who visit their grandparents, whom they have never met. And I'm not going to say anything else because I would like Tyson to go in very blind.
I know most things about this. I think I even read the twist at the end of this.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
yeah,
Dude,
that ends up happening.
I'm going to hard swear.
That's
Motherfucker.
bad.
I end up just kind of stumbling across this shit.
Tyson. Ah, that's
How
fine.
could-
You know what? It's
how
going to
old
scare the
is
shit out of you.
Visit? What year
It
was that?
2 years ago now,
2
I reckon.
years?
Also,
Yeah.
it was after Devil? Or
Yeah,
no,
it's
it was
well
definitely after Devil.
did he produce or direct that?
He only
Sorry?
He
produced
produced it. Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
The last thing he directed
Yeah,
before that was
2015.
After Earth. I
Which
think.
was
we don't believe he really directed though, because Will
Smith directed it.
actually directed
All right.
Oh,
it.
really? Is that
Yeah.
the wow?
Will was the big author of that film.
Oh,
and
well, see it
it's-
plunge into the.
He wanted to make a movie that would make his son a superstar.
Yeah, he wanted to get his son.
That was
a
Karate Kid.
franchise.
No, but this is the one that he was like,
Oh,
because
he was.
he will be in it because that way he thought that will sell tickets. So I'll
Yeah,
be in
well
it, but
done.
I will. He wrote it so that he would not be able to take part in it.
Wow.
So because he injures himself
Yeah,
and it becomes
Yeah, he's
just
like paralyzed the
yeah.
whole film or something.
yeah.
I
He's
haven't
barely
seen
in it. He's barely in it.
Mm.
I watched it because of M. Night, not because of the Smiths.
yeah. It was pretty boring.
It
Well,
was.
I actually
horrible.
think
It's
there's a
the
concept
least
in
M.
that
Night,
which
M.
is
Night film. I
well, but
think.
it's got moments of M. Nightness in it.
Hmm.
The concept, it's got this concept about because the bad guys in the film can smell fear. They're
That's
blind.
very M. Night-ish, yeah.
And so it's all about
Lovely.
overcoming your fear, and there's the stuff about how fear is a real thing, but you can't let it dictate your choices and things like that. And that part of it feels very M Night.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
It's just not.
And I'm sure if
it's just
there's
not
any
very good.
interesting camera work in it, etc., then that's all M Night too.
It's the least though, the
If,
least of it,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's far more reliant on CG, and when he gets like CGI environments, I don't think he does as good work. Like The Last Airbender as well, which has got a lot of CGI environments, he loses those interesting things that he does, I think, when he sees a real environment and goes, I'm going to put the camera here. Yes,
Yeah.
it's
I
no
never
one else
saw
does
that either. And again, it's because I'm like, they've just got him directing this Last Airbender film. Like, that isn't an M. Night film at all. So
No.
I
No.
don't know.
Yeah. I feel like it was sort of a need to pay the bills type deal.
he
It
can't
must
surely
no, it was
need to, though.
it was a deal,
know.
I think.
Oh, right.
They
One
had
of
to
his, one of
bankroll
theirs?
something else.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm not sure what.
Sure.
But it's probably
The
split.
Happening?
Probably
It
split.
could have actually
been
been
split.
The Happening.
Yeah.
Really? No, because the happening was before that.
This is what I mean. When he's like, give me the money to do Happening. I'll go
And
and do
that'll
that, and then I'll come
So you
and
haven't
make
seen
Jesus
Split
Christ.
yet?
No,
I haven't seen Split
You
yet.
haven't seen?
No.
Oh
I
my!
can't
And you're
wait.
M
It's
Night fan.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
know the
huge.
twist?
No,
No.
I don't want to know.
Oh.
I don't want to know.
How do you know the
I've heard.
It's so
How do you know
good.
the twist in The Visit, and now you know the
I can't.
Split?
No, I
You
don't know the
should
one
have
in
seen
Split. I'm avoiding
at
it.
the cinemas too
I
because
know.
it was
Oh.
thrilling.
Yeah.
Really, he's back. I'm stoked.
This is what. this is what
I'm
people say,
excited.
man.
Yeah, good. So he should be. He's a great
Yeah,
director.
And everyone's allowed to have a couple of
Yeah.
shit ones.
But yeah, the one thing everyone's allowed. They are.
Cry,
They
sorry.
totally are.
That's a director talking. I think.
They totally are allowed to have a couple of shit
You know, a
ones.
few shit ones.
No one
Yeah.
saw War of the
No.
Worlds. Come on.
Of
Oh,
course.
do you know what I
Sucked
like?
it.
I really like
I
War
know
of the
you
Worlds.
liked it.
Oh,
What the
War of
fuck?
the Worlds is great. What are you
Oh,
talking about?
Jesus
Come
Christ.
on.
It's-
Really?
no, it doesn't know how to end, but I think it's.
Yeah,
it's,
see, there you
it's
go,
Five
unfortunately.
The
sixths of an
Terminal is
incredibly
like
good
the
movie.
weird as terrible
That's
Write
the,
that down.
That's
film.
the bad
Yeah.
Spielberg film. Yeah.
Nah.
Oh. What was the bad Spielberg film?
The
The Terminal.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I like that better.
Then War
Actually,
of
I
the
need to
Worlds.
watch it again.
It's so weird.
I watched it the other day and it is just
You watched The Terminal?
bananas. Yeah, because this podcast that I love, they did it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Oh, that's good.
Mm.
But yeah, the one thing I did want to say about The Visit, which is great, which I feel that this, as a horror movie, does well, which is different from blood and gore and things like that, is it's slightly funny, and then it pushes it into being extremely funny to the point where it's scary. Do you know when if you see someone laugh by themselves in a corner and you're like, okay, that's kind of weird, but they're overly laughing, and you're like, this is gotten
There's
really...
a moment of that in the It trailer as well.
That's
Exactly,
very-
yeah.
That's the same concept. that-
So yeah, it's
Clowns.
sort of it's there are some extremely funny moments in
I heard this. Yes.
in The Visit, which just 180 and then all of a sudden they're really scary. Yeah. And it has an actress in it who I would love to see win an Oscar eventually. Catherine Hahn is amazing.
Catherine Hahn.
I'm sorry. Could you
Is-
help me out?
No, that's
Catherine
okay.
Hahn? What else is she in?
She was the good one in Bad Mums, like the best part
yeah,
of that.
there you go.
She was.
I know.
Catherine Hahn,
Okay, because
yeah.
I was like, I literally watched Bad Mums the other day, and I'm like, when is she gonna get her own?
She needs her own.
thing?
She needs a
And she got cast in I Love Dick, which was an Amazon pilot, and I don't think it got picked up,
No.
which sucks. Because I'm like, it was
Yeah.
fine, and I'm just, but I think that they did like 6, and only 3 were gonna get made,
Right.
Yeah.
and I could be wrong.
What was
Maybe
the-
it is
what
being
was the
made.
What was the story of this?
Oh,
series?
it's based on the Chris Kraus book. It's about a writer who goes out to a remote, like, cowboy kind of town to do a writing course with
Okay.
this sort of guru of authors, played by Kevin Bacon. So, like,
Wow.
it's got,
Oh, nice.
yeah, and the guy from, what's that Scorsese film, The Whole Night in New York?
Mean Streets.
No, the...
Whole
Oh,
night in
I
New
know
York.
the one.
The-
It's the one that.
it's killing me. I don't know what it's called, but he's in it.
The Whole Night in New York.
It's the one
Shoot.
that.
Come on.
No, it's
It's
the one
got-
that no one's seen.
Oh.
Oh, Bringing Up the Dead.
No,
No, that's-
People have seen
it's
that.
The older
less.
one. It's the older one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1986.
And it's got
Scorsese.
someone really strange in it that you were like, what are they doing in the Scots? After Hours.
After Hours,
there we
thank
go.
you.
There we go.
I don't
We
know
got
why
there.
I had
We
the
got there in the
TH
end.
sound in my mouth, but yeah. So the star of After Hours plays her husband.
Okay.
But I'm like, yeah, she's got her own show, yes. And then I don't think I got picked up.
She's in Transparent. She's amazing in that as well.
I haven't watched Transparent
I love
yet.
Transparent. But yeah, Catherine Hahn. That was me. The Visit.
Well, there you go.
We're going to save it for Tyson.
Yeah, no, look, I might just give it a sneaky watch at some point.
No, don't do that. No, it's on the list. You're not allowed to watch
so
it.
that I don't have to watch it
No,
in the dark.
no. You're banned. If I find out that you watched it, I'm going to do something mean to you.
All right, well, I'm going to talk about mine.
Yeah,
just
go for
very
it.
briefly.
Yeah.
I rewatched. We're having a rewatch-a-thon.
Oh,
This is interesting.
nice. Yeah,
You
go
rewatched.
for it.
I
Yeah.
rewatched.
Yeah.
I rewatched What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
That's a fun
Which,
film.
yeah.
God, it
you
was
know what?
funny. Go.
Yeah. I
didn't
enjoy it as much this time, funnily
What?
enough. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
It's
Gone?
I got about 40 minutes into it this time and was like, I think I'm done with this. Like, I don't think it's paced particularly well. I think the first 20 minutes are so good that you almost coast on the goodwill of that for the rest of it. I reckon the
Okay.
first time I watched it, and I was trying to think it in my head, I was like, the things that I love about it mostly all occur very early. Like none of the
But I
stuff
guess
that
it
happens,
establishes all of the jokes that are just going to throw
that's
out
true,
as well.
and then it just kind of lets it exist. And I think, and it feels so. I was really noticing this time how overly improvised it feels, and
Which you can tell.
yeah. Well, not that it is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I was so keen to watch it again because I saw it that one time when it came out, and I loved it, and it's been on one of them for a little while, and I was like, I can't wait to watch it again, and I put it on, so pumped. And yeah, about 40 minutes in, I was like, oh, I think I'm not going to watch this movie again.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was pretty certain. Aside from the bit where he eats the chip and then projectile vomits blood for about 30 seconds, which I'd forgotten about.
I have forgotten about it too.
That
Can't eat
moment
chips
still...
anymore. Can't eat-
when he's just like, when he just goes to reach and get a chip and he's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, mate.
No.
So what do you mean? No, you shouldn't have done that. And then it's just him projectile vomiting blood, which still caught me off guard. And I was like, that's a great
There's
moment.
a disgusting line about like the sandwich. Like,
Oh, yeah, it's
I
like,
love that.
would you want to eat a sandwich after
That
someone's fucked it?
And I still think that's
how
so
funny
good.
is
like,
that?
What,
Come
like
on.
it's the
This is
it's
this
just
is the
great.
thing. These
Comparing
are
veggies to
all early
sandwiches is
moments.
great.
This is all like the first 45 minutes. The only bit that I think really, I don't think the ball works. I don't think anything that really occurs
The ball
in
is
the
a bit
ball
weird.
works.
I'll give you that.
I don't think the
No.
character of the beast
It's such a
lives
Taika
up to the
Waititi
potential
thing,
of
though.
it.
It's like he'll find a way to like populate like a shitty hole in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Like that's what he likes to do.
Yeah. But you know what? It was funny because I really
He likes
liked.
to have his little hall scenes. It's very 90s. I don't know, like
Sure.
like Strictly Ballroom. Like
Yeah, I
those,
get you.
know,
I get you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because I liked Hunt for the Wilder People.
It's his best film. Like,
But
I
it's funny.
love
I think I
Hunt for the
like it
Wilder
more
People.
now. Because if you had asked me before I watched What We Do in the Shadows again, I would have said I preferred What We Do in the Shadows. But I think I prefer Hunt for the Wilder People now.
Okay.
I think it's structured far better,
Yeah.
far cleaner,
Yeah.
and I think it's overall far more effective. I don't think
Well,
you don't take anything away from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
Whereas there's such a beautiful relationship at the core of Hunt for the Wilder People.
We're seeing him grow as a director.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will jump in and say that I do love What We Do in the Shadows, but the thing is with me, I still find it funny, and I kind of look over those things, even though I know that they're there, that you kind of hit them on the
and
map.
it's fun to look over them and
But
still
for
have a
me-
good time.
For me, because I laugh at absolutely anything, it is my curse.
Sure.
It is my curse.
You have a
I
very
find it-
robust laugh.
I find. Thank you.
Yes.
That's a nice way. A very, very, very nice way of putting it, Tyson. But yeah, because of this curse, that I can watch a movie like that just over and over and over,
Sure.
and not look at those things.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's one.
Jemima,
Yeah.
what did you watch?
What did you watch this
I
week?
went to the movies. I saw Ghost in the Shell.
Cool.
Yeah.
Controversial.
I know. When I got to work, I was told how controversial it was that I had seen that, as if
Ooh.
actually
Even if
attending,
just by going.
I know.
attending the film is a controversial
Exactly. It's very
choice.
controversial.
And
Yeah.
so-
Have you seen the original?
No. I haven't
Nice.
really.
I like it.
I haven't watched really any anime.
Okay.
It's I'm doing the thing when I turn my head. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I liked it. It's really dreamy. I'll admit I fell asleep for a bit. But I'd had
That is so awesome.
I'd had some wine and I had a lot of chocolates. It was a night out. Like I went with a friend who I haven't seen in a while, and we really pigged out and were a little bit like just a little elevated, and then of course we dropped immediately. But yeah, I went and I mean, look, hot tip by the way, if you can get out there, I went at Epping Cinemas and it's $10 all the time. Like
wow.
So it's cheap. Which
How's
is
the
great.
cinema? Is it nice?
Yeah, they're lovely.
It's fun.
I think I've seen one film there before years ago. So that was cool. But yeah, no, I liked it, I have to say. I don't know if I'll see it again, but it did some things that were very interesting to me. And there are some people in it that I was like, oh, hello, I didn't know you were in this.
Yeah, it's
which
good
I
to
won't
see.
spoil, but
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I won't say
yeah. Do you? I don't know.
No, you can spoil it. People can
I
look
don't
up
know.
who's in it.
We might be talking about the same
No.
person.
Go.
Who knows?
People can look up who's in it. Go for it. Talk about who's in it.
I don't know.
Because I want to know.
No,
What?
maybe it is a secret. Maybe the one I'm thinking
Oh,
of
is it a
isn't much of a
secret?
secret.
Are they secrets?
Well, because I didn't. No, Juliette Binoche's in it, but that wasn't what I meant.
No,
Yeah.
she's a doctor.
No, but like the antagonist, the bad guy, quote unquote bad guy, quote unquote guy, also quote unquote human. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. So we might be talking about the same person, but I don't think many people care about him as much.
Oh,
as,
okay.
as
So
we-
Michael Pitt's in it.
yeah.
Okay, maybe people don't really care about him. He's a very scandalized actor, I think. He got kicked out of Boardwalk Empire. So, like, I was surprised.
Did he really?
Why don't I know this stuff?
I think
Why did he get kicked out of
I think
Boardwalk?
he's just terrible to work with. He's very, very bad.
He's-
But
Ever
and
since
he's
Last
also,
Days?
I mean, like, I think he's, in terms of the conversation about race, which is the big issue, the whitewashing of Ghost in the Shell. Again, I don't think it was as problematic as people are saying, but I can definitely see how that would be an issue. However, like, the producers have come out and said, like, you know, don't assume that these characters are Asian, basically. Like, I don't know. Anyway, and I'm not, whatever. I sort of tried not to really watch the film in that way, except that I could not help when Michael Pitt also enters the film. I'm just like, he is so Aryan.
Aryan all the way.
The man is white.
Used to great effect in funny games.
Funny Games. Still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
When he's just like he even wears like the white. Well, because I've never seen the original. I've seen the American remake.
Oh, the Hanukkah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is they're both directed by him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of
fun.
like, well, you know, I
Exactly.
guess we're doing the same things. I guess
It's not like watching the remake of Psycho.
No. Speaking of
which is just
speaking
horrible.
of Michael Pitt and Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, they call it a shot-for-shot remake, but I'm like certainly like sure that Norman Bates wasn't like having a wank in the first one.
Yeah,
like,
he wasn't.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the shot was
Audibly?
the same. They just decided to add some extra sound effects
Sorry,
in.
you're right.
Don't-
It was the
don't
sound
just-
effects. I beg
Just
your
don't
pardon.
do it shot for shot. What is the point? Anyway, moving on.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's an exercise, but I mean, it's the same. Like, it's like Steven Soderbergh doing Indiana Jones in monochrome. Like, did you see that? Like how he just uploaded
Is that a
on
real
his
thing?
Vimeo.
I thought you just
Really?
made that up
No.
as like
No,
an example
he
of the
just
most
went
ridiculous
and took
thing.
the color out of it
Right.
and was like, "This is how beautiful this film is." Like, and he put it up on Vimeo.
Sure.
Yeah, and so it's like, cool. That's something you put on Vimeo and people watch. That's what Gus Van Sant should have done with
Yeah.
Psycho. Like, hey, I'm just gonna do a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Good times. Hey, what the fuck were we talking about? How did we
What-
get on
that
to
was
did we
I saw
watch
Ghost
this
in the
week?
Shell, and I'm like, yeah, go see it. That's all I have to say
Great.
at the end of that.
All right, well, that might be enough for that might be enough for what have we watched this week.
Yeah.
Why don't we make a move onto our feature presentation?
Yay.
No?
Yeah.
What was that?
No, that was good.
That was
I liked it.
Snake charming?
yeah.
No,
I
it was
think
maracas. I was gonna say
Was it maracas?
It was
Oh, I'm
maracas.
glad because I don't know what it was. It was meant to be like the after verbi of a symbol.
Nice. I like it a lot.
I'm not a musician, so
That's okay.
yeah, that was.
It was
no.
pretty accurate.
And now for our feature presentation.
Hey, so we're talking today about the 1998 film Rush Hour, directed by Brett Ratner. Now, this was so full disclosure.
Go for it.
We might as well tell the listeners what's going on.
Absolutely.
When I am inviting guests on, or when we are inviting guests on, which is sorry, because Jemima was someone that I invited.
Oh, that's
so
fair
it's
enough.
just,
That's true.
it's
Yeah.
come
I
from
don't
that.
know you.
No, that's true. But
Mariah Carey line. We'll come back to Mariah Carey. Anyway, yeah.
But as we invite guests on, we want to give the guests the opportunity to choose the film that we talk about, because we thought that'd be a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
Something comfortable. We don't have to say, hey, we want you to talk
we
about
want
this film.
you to talk about this, yeah.
By the way, this film that we love, you talk about it.
Yeah.
So, Jemima, you
Yeah.
chose Rush Hour.
I did.
I would love to
Start
with
Yeah,
instead of just saying why you chose this film.
Yeah.
When did you first see Rush Hour?
I saw Rush Hour in the cinemas.
Right, so you've had the full relation with Rush Hour.
So 98, I mean, I was young. I'd have been about 11, probably, when that one came out.
Right.
Sure.
So I grew up, again, my dad got me into the movies, but he was also very much into martial arts. So
Interesting.
I grew up watching Bruce Lee films, Jackie Chan films,
Great.
Jet Li films as well.
You had the best. Sorry, I'm just going to cut in with. She had the best parents ever.
That's
Dad's
that
showing
is
her
an
kung
that is an
fu,
upward.
Nah.
and mum was showing Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. Okay, no, yeah, sorry.
You got a good
Film-wise.
education.
There you
Sure,
go. You got a rad film.
Movie education, great, absolutely.
My dad brought me up on Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it was Terminator, Predator.
Yeah,
I
me
missed all
too.
that.
Everything.
I'm part of
I
that
found
as
me and my
well.
brother found that together, with all that
did
kind
you?
of stuff. Yeah. Well, that's funny because having that martial arts background, because I can probably count the amount of films that those guys have made in their native countries on one hand. I just don't get to see many of those films. But so you could say comfortably you've watched a lot of the original Jackie Chan kind of stuff. Getting back to
the thing is though, as a child,
Right.
So, and I mean, look, this is I have no idea about whatever he's making in Hong Kong these days. But we were following Jackie Chan in the 90s, I think. And he made
Rumble in the Bronx.
Rumble in the Bronx
That was
the
my
big,
first.
That was the big US breakout film for him. And Mr. Nice Guy was shot in Melbourne.
That's right.
And that came out the same year or the year before Rush Hour.
Was it just those two
Right.
before Rush Hour? Was there another one?
They made it. No, he was doing a couple of cameos in some other Hollywood films. Maybe there was The Wrong Man. Maybe
Is that the one I'm thinking
or
of?
something? Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was before Rush Hour as well,
Sure.
or the same year.
Okay.
But yeah. So look, I don't know why the first film that I thought of is always The Phantom Menace, because we're not going to get into it. I'm obsessed. That's all I'm going to say. I made a video. I'm going to plug my video.
Go for it.
Absolutely.
It's on Vimeo. It's called something like Why the Prequels Are Great, Part 1. The Phantom Menace. It's amazing. So yeah, you can just watch the video.
We're
Jemima
gonna
Bucknell
I'm
put
going to
up.
say
We're going to post them
we'll
on
post
the
we'll post a link to
Facebook.
it on our page.
Yeah.
The sound is terrible. I'm not a sound person.
I'm going to I've watched the video, and it's congratulations on putting
Thank you for
together
watching
something.
it.
No, not at all. I was actually really intrigued because I was like, fuck yeah, I want to watch this, because I don't agree in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
You
But
wouldn't, no.
when I see someone like Jemima has posted something like this, I'm
Sure.
like, all right, well, I
have to watch
I
this,
have to
yeah.
watch this, because I'm willing to have that information kind of.
But
it's
you've had-
someone who I respect the information
Exactly.
from.
You've had good conversations
Yeah.
with Jemima, so
And
of course you want to watch it.
man, seriously, I can't ever say I'm gonna turn my opinion of that film, but you make some fucking good points in there, and there's definitely some things in there worth talking about further. So yeah, I reckon people should get on that and give it a watch.
Nice.
The haters of the prequels can get on that and have
There
a watch.
are
There are
billions.
many.
Okay, so I actually want to throw it back to you, because that's my genesis of watching Rush Hour.
Right.
Tyson, you had not seen
This was my
film,
first viewing of Rush Hour
which
today.
What?
that
Really?
blew my mind.
Wow,
I could not
Tice.
believe it. Well, how did you miss it? I understand.
Do you know, it's just one of those movies that I just never cared enough about. It was around. It came out on video.
So you would have been at the video store at this point. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think it might have been. I think I started the year after it came out on video. I think I started in '99.
Right.
Well, actually, so it might have been around the time, but there were still plenty of copies of Rush Hour at my video store. I remember that clearly because there was never any issue with people getting a copy of Rush Hour.
Everyone
it was a
wanted
huge
piece.
film.
It was
That's
massive.
why I
wasn't
don't
it?
understand how you haven't seen
Well,
it.
because for some reason I just never was drawn to that.
Buddy cop.
No, because I love buddy cop movies.
Okay.
I think, and I love martial arts movies.
Okay.
Okay,
So I
do you
don't
hate
understand.
black people?
You are a
I'm just a
racist.
racist.
I'm sorry,
Do you know
sorry.
what?
Racist.
Sorry.
I am one of the very few defenders of Chris Tucker because I think
love
what he
Chris.
does
I
in
love
Fifth
him.
Element is
Oh.
I adore what he does in Fifth
no,
Element.
he's
No,
so
you're spot
fantastic.
on. You
And-
watch Fifth Element for Chris Tucker.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far because I think that movie's spectacular in its own
That's
right.
true.
But he,
No, I would watch it for Chris Tucker. Sorry.
There you
Thank
go.
you, Jemima.
I
Thank
like you know, and a lot of people talk about how he is like the thorn in that movie's side. Where I'm like I love what he
way.
does in that film. I
Yeah.
think Ruby
Absolutely.
Rod is fucking amazingly good.
Absolutely.
Funny though, so watching it today for the first time, I can't
Wow, this is gonna be
honestly
funny.
say that I was on board with Chris Tucker this time.
Right.
I think
Okay.
he's
He's a
his
troublesome
shtick-
character in some ways, I'll say. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, there are elements to it which I think could have softened his edges a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. It's 98. Things were
Very
different.
different, very
the way we
different.
perceived a lot of this kind of stuff, and sometimes you can be slightly more forgivable of elements of that in a film like this, and say, you know what, it was a slightly different time.
Absolutely.
You know, the gag about what color are the panties you're wearing probably went down like a treat in 98
Yeah.
and would have got a good giggle. And now it's a bit like, hey man, that's technically
Dude.
sexual harassment. Why don't you just
So
put a
you,
lid on it?
That's it. So you haven't seen, therefore, Rush Hour 2 or Rush Hour 3?
No, I have not.
Wow.
Okay, Rush Hour 2, good. A very effective, pretty good sequel,
Right.
honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Rush
was.
Hour 3, abysmal
Right.
and
What?
incredibly offensive.
Okay.
And,
Incredibly offensive.
oh, it's so much. Okay, the first scene, Chris Tucker, two women have a car accident. He decides to arrest them both unless they go on a date with him. One of them's fat, and he says to Jackie, he calls him up and goes, hey, I got us dates for tonight. You get the fat one. And, like, I laughed, but I'm just like, you can't do that.
I love that you laughed.
Like, oh,
No,
of
because
course
you,
I
like
laughed.
I'm
It's
laughing now
hilarious.
because
I'm
it's
sorry.
almost so ridiculous. that-
Because I think Chris Tucker is just really funny, and I think that you.
No, but I found myself giggling as well, but almost I find his energy infectious more than anything else.
He's
Oh,
entertaining to
absolutely.
watch. He's
He
just
has like
entertaining to watch.
like you've got to appreciate that shtick because it's not quite. It's far more energized than like an Eddie Murphy or a
No,
Martin
yeah.
Lawrence kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's got
well, it's
far more.
It's far more flamboyant, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what, of course, the same thing that he does in The Fifth Element, which is what makes him so
So good.
fantastic.
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
that
well, I
he-
suppose they
and-
totally embrace that
Yeah.
element to it, and he is the fabulous character in it. The way
And
he's
he's
dressed,
definitely
and
subverting some stereotypes
Just
of
on his
African
hair.
American men. Although, obviously, in Fifth Element, I have no idea what. Is that set in New York? Like, I have no idea. Like, it's a
It's a
giant future, and
Yeah.
there are different planets, and
sure.
Sure.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a vehicle for Chris Tucker more than it is possibly for Jackie Chan as well. And so I think in terms of the issues surrounding or race or representation, that they actually fall on the Asian characterizations more than the African American. However, I don't find much fault. Like, I still think even the jokes with Elizabeth Pena, who's the, is it Elizabeth Pena?
Yeah.
Who's the bomb squad,
Oh, yeah.
the only female cop. So obviously she sort of cops it from Chris Tucker throughout the film, but at
Sure.
the same time, she's an absolute professional. She does her job effectively,
Yeah.
and she's not like, although he does sleaze onto her a bit, and she's obviously very sexy. She's also, she works well. She saves the girl. She cuts the right wire.
True.
And then, it's not like she sort of falls to her knees for him at the end. Like it's not about their
that's true.
relationship.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. No, and I don't look. I don't think. I don't think that's the kind of the crux of the entirety of his character faults. Just the way he treats her.
No.
I think there's
he's a
also some
racist.
interesting.
Like,
There's some
he's
very interesting things about the way they talk about Asian people in this
Yeah.
film as well.
No, his
Interesting.
character
That's a
is
nice way to put it.
absolutely his character is definitely a racist, and he's definitely very naive. And I think that it's obviously it's played for laughs in many ways, but what I think the jokes are, and this is my argument with a lot of Chris Lilly characterizations, is that never for a minute do you stop thinking that he is somewhat ridiculous in these moments. Like, you can see that he's wrong. You may be laughing at him, but the error is apparent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I want to get to you in a second, Nick. I just want to finish
Oh,
one
sure.
more
Sorry,
thought
Nick.
process.
No,
No, because
please.
we're going
I'm
back and
happy
forth a bit on
listening.
this.
Happy
But
listening.
I want to get your thoughts in a second, because I see exactly where you're going with that. But the difference with the Chris Lilly thing, I think, is that the packaging of his characters, I think, is more aware. I start to kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable when the arrival of Jackie Chan is signaled with a Chinese gong and things like that, which makes me then think that the film,
I'll pay that.
the
definitely.
packaging of this
Yeah.
is a little bit kind of, guys, we don't need to be, dun 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 dun
Yeah.
when there's an Asian character on screen. I feel like we should have moved past that by 98.
However, I think the music and the instrumentation are very evocative of Enter the Dragon, which is a deliberate choice.
Yeah, maybe.
So the opening credits are actually kind of mimicking Enter
Got
the
that
Dragon
kind of
as well.
that funk mixed with Eastern
Yeah,
flavor
and
to it. Yeah.
again, it's it's a big homage. Obviously, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's in Enter the Dragon. Like
True.
the interest.
Oh,
of
it's not Enter the Dragon that he's in. It's
Oh, sorry.
Game of Death.
Game of Death.
He's in.
Sorry, who's
There's
in?
it's the guy with the big fro in Enter the Dragon,
Oh.
who is he's a
Oh.
blaxploitation guy. I can't remember his name right now. But
Yeah, I can't remember it. I'm sorry. I thought that was
2 seconds.
yeah, but I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
but this is where maybe a filmmaker that I had more faith in,
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly. Thank you.
Sorry.
A filmmaker I had more
Blank
faith in.
Jim Kelly.
I
face.
might-
Who? What?
He was in.
Jim Kelly was in Enter the Dragon.
Oh, that's
was
his
the name-
name.
name
Oh,
of the
sorry. I
actor.
thought you meant that
Sorry.
was a director. Sorry.
no.
Yes. Sorry, Jim
Oh.
Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah,
were
maybe
you
it's
gonna
just
say?
the Brett Ratnerist that
Mm-hmm.
that I'm kind of like, yeah, if it was somebody that I had a little bit more faith in, I might see more of that kind of subversive thing, and that's like, oh, it's a homage to this, and it's all this kind of stuff. Whereas with it's Brett
But it's
Ratner, I
Ratner.
think it's him
He's
with
the-
his baseball cap going, hey, this will be funny, dudes.
Yeah.
We're gonna gong when Jackie Chan walks out of the plane.
I do agree.
Okay. Well, no.
But,
Look. No.
and that's
I
making
get
assumptions.
The gong thing.
Yeah.
No.
I don't like to make assumptions, but yeah.
I agree with that, but then you've also got the little girl singing Mariah Carey in the car.
That's
which,
true.
So like it does
Such a cute scene.
And I mean they're just like fresh out of Hong Kong. Like I don't know if she knows American music. Like and I love that. Like it's so funny. The
Yeah.
men are visibly uncomfortable. Like and it's
That was a very funny scene. It actually
So good.
it hung on it. It was a good comic
Yeah.
kind
and
of
it's a
direction
great
moment.
3 or 4 tiered action scene. Like, the car gets pulled over, some people get shot, she runs out, they run after her, she gets pulled onto a motorbike and driven into a van.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's in like the actual action design and the set pieces in the film are really incredible. I think that Rush Hour 2 has some really good ones as well, but not talking about that. But
That's all right.
I remember Rush Hour 2 being really good.
So
What were you
Nick,
going to say,
So
Toast?
Nick,
why don't you get
Talk
in
to
here,
me.
man?
What,
What do
what
you
would
reckon?
you like to be?
So you've seen this?
I have.
You saw it back in the day, or is this something you came to on
No,
video?
I did. I did see it back in the day. I did, and I remember being just a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah.
But I am seeing now that I watched it because I watched it last night. It was the thing is I did see those things that you saw, like with the gong, that were just in there and made me go, "Oh, really? Are we doing that?" Especially with when I'm not going to say what he says, but when Jackie Chan goes up to the bar and talks to the bartender, that would
the
not.
"What's my N-word" line? Yes, yes.
That wouldn't play anymore, unfortunately. I feel, but
I don't know.
I still think that it's such an effective joke.
That's the thing. No, it worked
It's
exactly.
like,
so I was entertained. So I kind of because it moved over
it's a
quickly.
disastrous thing to say,
Yeah,
and to not know that. Like that's the thing. I think that we've gotten to a point where we're so sensitive and so aware that we are, I think, blocking the awkwardness or the horror of like cultural clashes that sometimes can be funny and sometimes can be offensive. And I mean, I think, if I go forward to a recent buddy cop film, I couldn't tell you that there is an Asian character in one recent buddy cop movie. Where's
the only one I will
The black
comes to mind
character in
is Bullet
recent
to the Head with
buddy cop movie?
no.
Which
No.
one? Sorry.
But I'm just trying to think of. I mean, for me, the latest buddy cop franchise is probably 21 Jump Street, which is two straight white dudes.
Yeah, that's true.
And their whole thing is just being self-conscious about making gay jokes.
I know
Like,
there's a
I'm
lot
kinda
of
like,
television. There's a lot of television. Buddy cop.
Rush Hour is a TV show now.
It is a TV show now.
I have
so
no
is,
idea how bad it probably is.
So is
because
Lethal
it's
Weapon.
afraid to
Lethal
be
Weapon
funny.
is a TV show now.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
And that's it. Like, are we? I guess like my.
I
point
agree
is,
with you though.
I think we
Yeah.
can still comfortably laugh at some of this stuff when it's used as a point of cultural clash. Like you were saying, I think him mistaking the N-word for a sign of affection between everybody is a cultural clash.
Well, the follow my lead thing then just being a disaster. Like, it's an old joke, but like, what's the worst thing that could happen out of that joke?
Sure.
Yeah.
And look, some of that stuff works. I think when you are kind of taking opportunities to not laugh at a culture, but demean a culture a little bit, because there are elements in it that do kind of, like, a gag is just, what do you want, a noodle cup or something? Like, when that's a gag, it's kind of like, that's not a cultural clash. That's just finding the easy gag.
True. That's true.
I think.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it ruined. I found that I enjoyed it just fine today. Like, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I actually kind of went in thinking that I was going to have a pretty rough time.
Really?
And I didn't feel that way in the end of it. I came away and went, you know what? It is the perfect example of that kind of 90s action comedy where the plot is irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
here for fun.
You are there to
fun.
just be in the company of charismatic characters.
Yeah.
And I got that in the end.
And that's the same.
But there were just every now and then something like that would happen, and I'm like, you're working really hard to push me off this film. Like, it's like the movie itself is trying to make me not like it.
Yeah.
And I think Jackie Chan especially went a really long way to making me like the film.
Yeah,
I think
and that's
I think
what
he
I
does
love.
some really great work.
One thing that I do love about Jackie Chan is that apart from doing his own stunts, his characters, which I feel this comes back a lot with his characters, is he doesn't know, he knows Kung Fu, but he doesn't use it. He's more like a Charlie Chaplin who knows Kung Fu.
Exactly. I was going to compare him to Charlie Chaplin
Everything is an accident, and he does it so well.
And he's a director as well.
Yeah.
Like, he directed a lot of his Hong Kong films.
So
like,
beautiful.
he is an auteur, and I think that particularly in the cases of the characterizations of he and Chris Tucker, I think that they are both artists of their own kind of making, and I think that they both put themselves in the film, which is to say that and both are comedians. Like, Jackie Chan is an incredible physical comedian, and I think particularly, like, what brings it home is the blooper reel, watching them both fail just constantly to pronounce or appropriate the language that they're trying to speak to each other. Because it's just like, it's fine. You can come together. There are cultural differences. There are
Yeah.
plenty of jokes. That old guy he's like, I don't sell soul food here. Like, it
I
gets
actually
given
love
back
that bit.
to
That was
Chris.
hilarious.
It gets given back to Chris Tucker
Yeah.
because he is like, but also like the big thing about the film is you've got, Chris Tucker is a Los Angeles policeman, like, and he makes the joke himself. We're the most hated cops in the whole
Yeah.
world. My mother is ashamed of me. She tells people I'm a drug dealer, which is so funny. Like, but of course, this is the post Rodney King LA, like,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it
when
is.
they are really the most hated cops. So to cast a black man as an LA cop is subverting things already. And
Yeah.
I think
And he's not a very successful LA cop at that. Like,
no,
he's,
like, and he's like
the bottom of the barrel.
he's like a swinging dick, like ridiculous, totally irresponsible.
yeah.
And like, perhaps that isn't necessarily like a positive representation, but he actually does the real crime solving in this as well, and he gets to do all the fun, like, he costumes himself and walks onto the plane and is like, oh lady, there's a problem with the left side of this
Yeah,
plane,
yeah.
like, you gotta go tell the captain. And you can just see him riffing and like his sort of, I don't know, his rhythms and his movement, like there's such an artistry and a uniqueness to it that I'm just like, he's just so funny. Like, he's like, I just find that he just oozes like comedy. And of course he's a professional comedian, like, so he's just doing his thing. And also, okay, so the other thing, I wanted to put it into the context of the late 90s was a time when there was a big move from Hong Kong directors and actors into Hollywood. So you've got John Woo directing Face Off in 97.
Ooh.
You've got, I've got a list. Everyone.
Go for it.
Okay, Mulan came out 98. That was the first Chinese sort of Disney
Yeah,
story.
it was, totally.
Although Aladdin actually, I think, is this mishmash of a Chinese and Arabian Nights story. Anyway, not the point. Lethal Weapon 4, 98 as well.
Jet
That
Li,
is
your
the...
favorite,
Jet Li.
Tys?
It's not my favorite. We've discussed
not your
that
favorite Lethal
Too
Weapon
many
film,
times.
is
No,
it?
Too many
I've
times.
discussed that I don't hate it anywhere near as much as other people do.
Okay.
That's fascinating. I couldn't watch it. Like, I tried to recently.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. But I think actually maybe that was what made me think of Rush Hour, because I'm like, I'm seeing Charlie's Angels is another example. That was 2000. They had a big kung fu thing. Obviously, Matrix came out in 99.
Yeah.
Kung fu elements.
Yeah.
And casting of non-white lead actors as well. Shanghai Noon, Jackie Chan then did with Owen Wilson in 2000. Shanghai, is it Shanghai Noon?
It's
Yeah.
noon then
Noon,
night.
night.
Yeah,
Nice,
because
yeah.
high noon, Shanghai noon is the joke, right? Crouching
There
Tiger,
is a joke in there. Yeah.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out in 2000.
Amazing.
So Ang Lee then had made some Hollywood films already, or like had made Sense and Sensibility.
Sense and Sensibility
but then
and
went
the
back.
Ice
Storm.
Storm.
So
I
he's
love Ice Storm.
sort of moving back and forth. Blade, I thought that came out in '98
yeah.
too, with
Wow.
Snipes sort of doing his
Kung
sort of
fu.
sword plays. That was maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more samurai, a bit more ninja.
Yeah.
But
It's
Very
funny.
true.
One of the biggest contributors to that was actually Jean-Claude Van Damme.
To
He's-
Blade?
No, to bringing Asian directors into Hollywood.
Oh.
He would seek out the people that were doing the kind of work that he wanted to see in
Yeah.
Hollywood, and would import them over and kind of take pay cuts and
Nice.
insist with his producers
Wow.
that these are the guys that I want to direct these films. So you had he imported John Woo over to do Hard Target.
John
and-
Woo did Hard Target.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And he imported I think his name's Corey Ewan to do Maximum Risk, or Ronnie Ewan, maybe. I'll have to double. I'm gonna double
Give
check
it a
that.
goods.
But again, Rush Hour is the height of this.
It was the peak of it all,
Peak,
Of
right.
kind
this
of hitting
peak
him over.
of Hong Kong action.
Asian flavour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coming into Hollywood. And
Amazing.
I don't think it's here anymore. It's not in the zeitgeist. That time has passed.
Yeah.
And
Well, so many
I'm-
of these directors have gone back
To
They've gone
their
back to
native
Hong
countries to
Kong.
work
exactly.
again.
and it's just like, so I don't know. I don't know what the reason that like is
Will
for
we
that
get a
necessarily.
resurgence?
But considering like Jackie Chan and Jet Li were huge bankable stars in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I couldn't name an Asian leading actor. And again, yeah, there are cliches and stereotypes associated with Kung Fu, but these guys are martial artists. Like there is a reason that it's called artists because there's something like they are professional acrobatic, comedians, Kung Fu masters, anyway, whatever you want to call it. But there's this kind of this physicality, this uniqueness, this belonged to them, and they brought it over, and it was hugely entertaining and extremely successful. And again, like these were big films back in the Hong Kong films were huge in the 70s, obviously, like the sort of post Bruce Lee, etc. And then of course that launched a lot of the blaxploitation kind of action Kung Fu films as well. And so I guess like, you know, a lot of these things, they have like 20-30 year cycles, so it makes sense that it sort of happened again in the 90s, like the next generation. But I'm like, you know, are we getting to a point where we're too sensitive about making another Kung Fu film if it, you know, risks stereotyping Asians like, you know,
that's true.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to be robbed of the next Jackie Chan because
hell no,
he's a master. Like
who's
I just want to make a quick correction so that I don't get this completely wrong. It was Ringo Lam is the director that Van Damme brought over for Maximum Risk. Ringo Lam has done a couple of...
Is he a Hong Kong guy?
Yeah, and he... I'm trying to think of what his most successful... City on Fire with Chow Yun-fat is probably his main film, and so Van Damme would see these films and then say, hey, I want to work with that guy, and would bring him over. So, yeah, he had played a little bit of part in that as well. Yeah,
and also Mission Impossible 2 was the highest grossing film that year, which was directed by John Woo as well. Yeah. So, I mean, now again, I guess the issue is like whether or not you are exploiting stereotypes for commodity, and maybe now they're not bankable anymore, which is why we don't see them. But I'm just like, I am grateful for films like Rush Hour because I find them incredibly entertaining. And I think that particularly, you know, separately and together, the way that the sort of the exposure that you get. Chris Tucker was like 24 years old when he made Rush Hour.
Yeah, right.
Like, isn't that just insane? Like, I mean, it's...
What have I done with my life? That's what I ask myself.
You want Chris Tucker's career?
And he wasn't the first choice. Like they wanted Eddie
I read
Murphy
that they wanted anybody else but
and
him,
Dave
Oh,
Chappelle.
really?
But funnily enough, though, and I think particularly you understand it when you watch again the bloopers, how much Tucker fumbles over quite literally just forgets lines constantly.
Yeah. And isn't there a scene in Rush Hour 2 or a blooper where he mid-scene and his phone rings in his pocket?
Yeah.
He goes, wow, that's professional. Like Jackie Chan goes, come on, man, like makes a joke of it.
Yeah. Like it's still, it's funny, but like there are scenes in the bloopers that they've just cut out because he couldn't get the word gefilte fish. Like he couldn't say, he's like kefilka. Anyway, and it's just like... but they had made the year before, he'd done Money Talks with Brett Ratner.
Yes,
which was Ratner's like first feature. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Has anyone seen it?
No,
I haven't. I kind of stay away.
It seems
from
like it's in the same kind of vein as
Money Train.
Yeah, so it's like an it's like an LA like caper.
It's a criminal
film.
and a cop kind of caper. I feel.
Well, he's a newsman
Charlie Sheen
in it. Charlie Sheen, not
he's
a cop.
Okay, sure.
And Tucker is a hustler.
So it's the straight guy and the wild crazy guy.
Yeah.
They get caught in.
Oh my god!
zany
I think I
adventures.
have seen it. Oh,
what's the one with Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence? Nothing to Lose. I feel like that's essentially the same movie. You could just watch either of those.
I actually have a big...
the straight-laced white guy and the kind of crazy black guy having adventures.
Part of my heart for Nothing to Lose. Yeah.
All right.
But that's only because, it's odd.
What's interesting about Lethal Weapon, of course, is that the white guy is completely crazy and the black guy is the straight.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
You know.
Yeah.
But
it's one day away from retirement.
Yeah. But... like Lethal Weapon is so dark, and a lot of those late 80s, early 90s action films, they got into places that were just so you know, it's hard. How do you dig up out of, like, I just find Rush Hour is such a simple story, and it's so lighthearted. No one gets hurt or tortured. No one commits suicide. Like, you know, no one's trying to kill themselves. And it's
all
like,
the bad guys are like stuntmen.
Yeah. Well, Tom Wilkinson eats some mean pavement
He
at
does,
the end.
doesn't he?
That's a
was
way to
yeah,
go.
and I think
I love Tom Wilkinson.
Well, I found, I mean, when I was watching it, for me, particularly that they do a lot of references to Die Hard. So they sort of,
it's
like,
very Nakatomi, the
yeah,
tower at
that's
the
it.
end, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's very, and I liked that. I'm like, yeah, this is a really good action film. Use it
Yeah.
as a blueprint to stage things.
Sure.
McTiernan is a genius of, like, storyboarding and staging. And it's like, I admire Ratner for going, like, yeah, let's, you know, get an art department that has an interest in, you know, or New Line, or maybe it was the producers. I
Sure.
don't know.
Sure.
Without, like, and I don't want to keep hanging shit on him, but is it confirmed that this isn't accidental though? With
What's
Brett
that?
Ratner,
Well,
because
okay, he had done money talks with New Line, so they were happy with him.
okay,
And so they brought him on, and then
He'd worked with Chris Tucker before.
they sent the copy of Money Talks to Jackie Chan, because the script was
Right.
never originally written
no, it wasn't
for an
written
African American or an Asian
Yeah.
man or anything like that. And Chan was sort of that was the script that he liked of what they were sending him, because they really wanted to get him over and get him working. So that was one that he was on board with, and they sent him Money Talks, and he enjoyed it and was like, okay, great, I'll work with this guy. So that was how Ratner
I mean,
got the gig.
look, and it's, you know, I
This
think
is young Ratner. Maybe before
maybe
he
he
was
had
Poison.
more. Maybe he had just
right?
more like
Sure.
kind of cultural or like creative integrity at a certain point. Like he gets a bad rap for being kind of just
Oh, he's shit.
the
Like, he's
director for
kinda
hire.
shit.
Well, this is the funny thing though. You look at his IMDb page.
Sure.
There's nothing in there that is downright awful. I just think he's very run of the mill.
Did he not do Rush Hour 3?
See, I
Well,
associate
yeah, okay,
him with
sure.
Abrams, and I don't get. Do you know what I mean?
You confuse him with
Like,
Abrams.
Yeah, and I
Wow.
think Abrams is a giant pile of junk. So, like, you know,
Wow.
I think that he's just poison and makes everything so basic and shit. Anyway,
That's interesting.
but I mean,
That
you
is
know,
interesting.
But that's you know, it's
That's a point of view, definitely.
when I see so okay, so something like this is harmless, right? But you look at, you know, let's say, like, I don't want to go into the superhero thing, but he fucked up the third X-Men film. It's
I don't blame
it's-
him for
it's
that. though.
junk. Yeah, look, and he came in very last minute.
Exactly.
But
it's
then you've
hard
also
to blame
got
any of the directors for the Marvel films being good or bad, though. Do you know what I mean? They are not directed. Like, I'll give Avengers to Joss Whedon, sure, but
But
otherwise,
you can see the difference between the first and the second one,
They're
because
not-
one is studio
Really?
controlled, one is more of a creatively controlled one, I think.
Yeah.
Even though I find that the second one gets better the more you watch it.
Well, that's a
because
different
I've seen it a
I
couple of
just
times.
don't
Winter-
remember. I'm not up with the X-Men.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But so the third one, it's junk. But you've got like these generic kind of things like The Family Man, which I remember watching and just being like, this is the definition of it's the dictionary photo of generic nothing film that you watch for 2 hours and go.
Yeah, see, I would just
Does
never have watched it. So, and I didn't.
It just so happens that, you know, I stumble across some of
Yeah.
these movies. I've
Yeah.
watched Family Man. I've watched Red Dragon, which is just like,
I actually love Red
I
Dragon.
liked
I think Red Dragon was
too, but
awesome.
I don't know.
it takes
It was the
all the
Nothing
kind of
compares to
all the
Silence of the
depth
Lambs.
of that character, and just here's like a episode of SVU.
Well,
And
I feel he wasn't
Manhunter is
used.
way better.
Of
as
course,
well.
Manhunter is
Wait.
way better, but I feel he wasn't used at all. He didn't use.
No,
anything.
not even just Lecter. I'm saying that the depth of the of
Real
the
grind.
relationships between, like, because it's always Lecter and his relationship to the other killer.
Sure.
And the way that he understands them, the way he plays against them, and this just felt like, it just felt like he was the guest star on an episode of Law and Order. Like, it was just I felt it was such a generic nothing movie. Like,
Oh, okay.
and that's him in a nutshell for me. I feel
Is
like
that the one
Redner.
is Ray Fiennes in that?
Ray Fiennes
Ray
did some
Fiennes
nice
was
work.
in that.
Yeah.
I
So
like
I'm
the
like,
bit
you're
where he-
cute. and like evil. That was sorry. That's
Kind of sexy
yeah.
evil.
I'm
is
like,
this what you're saying?
is that I like? Yeah, I'm always
All right.
I'm always into the bad guys. Like you can't sort of help. I think it's just because you're not supposed to, so automatically you
Even that bit where
reject.
he takes off the robe and he's like got the dragon, the wings
Full
on his
tatted
back,
up.
and Philip Seymour Hoffman is like without his face screaming. and
I don't remember Philip Seymour Hoffman in the film.
Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was the best part of that film. He was so good. I love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah,
He
I don't know.
doesn't do much.
I don't remember the
He
tats.
doesn't do much.
But
no, he just kind of
Oh, in the
he's
film, he
puppetry.
he
doesn't
sells
do
it. He's a
much.
dirty, disgusting
Yeah, but then he
tabloid asshole.
He's
But that was the only. That was the,
inessential.
that was the only Brett Ratner movie I liked. There.
one more bring back to the race thing that I want to say as well is that the film is about overcoming that difference and that cultural difference in order for them to be able to work together and solve the case. And sorry, I just like totally
They
jumped out.
achieved
It's
that?
like
Yeah,
shut up for a
that's
second. But the bad guy is white.
Yep.
And English.
And also it's the first scene is the day of like the last day of British occupation in Hong Kong. So it actually does politicize that relationship of Asia and Britain as well, I think,
Sure.
which is interesting. And of course, the FBI guys are basically like,
Bumbling
get the man from
idiots.
China out of here.
Yeah.
And we're going to set up this black dude with him and they can just go off and play together and worry about each other. And of course, they do have this fantastic cat and mouse scene when they first meet. But, it's like you've got the couple of the like white agents, like white American agents just saying like, get out of here. We're going to handle it. And, of course, they get together and solve the case and save these agents later on. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, and it's
I know this is essentially why I think I wanted to talk about it, because I'm just like I see that it's problematic, but I also think that there's a lot of virtue in its relationship to race.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but it's does a movie is a movie allowed to kind of behave in a certain way, like with some of the things we've brought up already? Is it allowed to justify those elements by making that character then smart and solve the crime and come out the winner at the end? Is that enough to kind of make acceptable things like I was going to write a tally of the racist things, and I actually got over it. I was actually
Yeah.
like, no,
There's
I
a
don't have enough
few-
ink.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make it okay?
Does that make it okay?
I don't know. And I actually don't know. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what am I, is that part of it? Is this part of the director setting up the expectation because all the characters are behaving a certain way, and then he comes up and is the smartest, is the best at his job, is, and actually puts them to shame? Is that enough for the other stuff? Because it's not just the dialogue of these characters. It's the film itself. It's telling us certain things. It's making fun of certain characters.
I think it's telling us that certain characters are racists, but I don't know. I still think ultimately that that there is a virtue to it more than a vice, if that makes sense. Like that is in my opinion, that's a good wife reference. In my opinion, I'm up against the judge right now.
I'm on board for that. I am on board for that. It was something that as I was watching it, I was in my head saying, is that enough? I don't know, what should we expect? Do I need some extra level of awareness from the film that racism is not cool? Because I don't know if we got that in this.
Well, I mean, the first time they meet, Tucker is like screaming at him, like, "Do you speak English?" And
But
yelling
even
and
that,
furious.
I feel like that over the top level I get I don't think that's the ones I'm talking. It's the inherent
It's
ones.
the little ones. It's the
the
noodle
little
cup.
ones.
It's the noodle cup.
It's the noodle cup. It's the gong. It's the it's the
and which unfortunately it would be fine if all of these things come in and
it's
and
the
and I
tourist bus
wanted-
full of Asian people that he lands on,
or with cameras.
or with cameras. It's the little ones that you're like.
It is that's fine.
No, but that's
that would be okay.
That
But
carry an
unfortunately,
inherent
because the director is Brett Ratner, I look at it and go, I feel like we're just going for the cash here. I feel like we're literally just
and
making
so
it for the
maybe.
money. Do you know what I mean? And that's I don't want to. I don't want to
Maybe
see
if
it
this
like
was
that, but do you know what I mean?
An auteur of some description.
But I think you've got characters like Consul Han and his daughter, who are, you know what I mean? There's nothing offensive.
No,
surely about their
true.
representation.
Not
and
at
I
all.
mean, they are the straight characters. They're the people who are hard done upon.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And who are, I suppose, it's their fate or their happiness, etc., that we are concerned about. And yeah, I don't know.
So because the movie isn't racist against them, we're letting it pass. Is that what's
No, but
going
I'm
on?
just saying that you are not only lumped with stereotypes.
There are
necessarily.
excellent
okay.
examples
That's
of it
what
as
I'm
well.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is the thing is I'm curious just because we don't have there isn't a big relationship with Hong Kong and Hollywood right now, and I'm like, is that because it's not bankable anymore, or is it because we are more whitewashed than we used to be?
Fair
Maybe
call,
we'll see
man.
a resurgence.
I'd like to see a bit of a resurgence.
Space comes back around. Cowboys come back around. Maybe Kung Fu will come back
the
around.
big kind of martial arts
Yeah.
resurgence.
Mm.
I miss it, man. I mean,
Oh, totally.
that was like
The last decent Kung Fu movie I watched was The Raid, which was actually directed, I
The Raid.
believe, by
Well,
a
it's
white
not-
guy.
Yeah, it is. It's by a British. Oh, he's not British. He's European.
And the
Okay.
other thing is as well is that it's one of the few genres that white men, I think, they wound up taking a back seat. I think obviously we had Van Damme and Chuck Norris as big leaders in the 80s, but then they brought the Hong Kong actors in, and then obviously a lot of African American actors became involved in it as well, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, man.
Because it's just
Awesome.
Michael Jai White
Jay White, yeah.
is out of
Huge.
control. He's so good. I'm conscious of time. I don't want to go too much longer.
Sure.
But I want to kind of try and separate that element to it and just talk about its efficiency as a well-structured action film.
Yeah.
How do we
yeah.
feel about that?
I think it's great. I
Yeah?
think that I mean, I love the writing in it because I like that there are a lot of throwbacks to little things, like the wipe yourself off, or you assumed I didn't say that. Like the dialogue has an enormous amount of callbacks. Again, I mentioned the Die Hard sort of big set pieces, and I like the balance of sort of action and talk in it too. And it's also a simple story. Like they have a big problem in the following films about what is that. Like this is a kidnapping.
What is the story in the second?
It's the kidnapping in a foreign country, and it's like, how do we deal with it? That's
It reminds me of a certain time when action films were like where if you said, "Hey, what was the plot of this film?" I would not be able to tell you. Like what was actually at stake. Do you know what I mean?
Double Team. What's the plot of Double Team?
Mickey
his
Rourke
brother's
has
been
a tiger.
assassinated. I can't remember. Is that
Yeah.
Double Team? His
Maybe.
brother
What
dies
one?
in like 6 of them, right? Like
Van
No,
Damme's
it's his
brother.
family.
He has a
Yeah.
It's his
dead
family.
twin.
He's got a dead
Yeah.
twin in
Yeah,
at least half of his films.
Yeah.
Or a living twin, and he plays both.
yeah.
Yeah, so do you know what I mean? Like, and I
Yeah, I
even
agree,
went
I
through and
agree.
wrote a few down, like stuff like Beverly Hills Cop 3, right?
Wow.
Which
No,
I'm like,
nothing.
what happened? Like, it's a theme park or something? Who knows? But it is just full of scenes. It is a collection of excuses to get these characters to interact with each other, and then maybe kick some bad guy butt.
Right.
The big hit, Bulletproof.
Oh, big hit.
National security. Like, it was just this time when the
Yeah.
plot didn't
National
matter.
security. That
It
was
didn't matter at
awful.
all.
No. The
like
big hit
it could
is,
be
like-
the plot could be anything.
Yeah, they kidnapped a rich guy's daughter and he liked her.
But it got to a
Right?
point.
Mark
It got to a
had a
point.
crush
on her. Yeah,
It got to a
that's right.
point. I feel that at that time it didn't matter, which is, I guess, maybe Rush Hour kind of kicked it off. It doesn't matter on the storyline. It matters who your actors are. It's who's
it's
who's
100%.
who's
Yeah.
bankable. So you can either get someone amazing like Jackie Chan, who brings what Jackie Chan brings to any movie. Like, he's just entertaining to watch. He brings his own stunt team, whatever. And then you bring someone like Chris Tucker or that comedic flavor to a movie, and you've got a movie. Awesome.
Well, this is, I feel like it's on paper, this combination is super effective. I don't know how much in reality, like I'm fine with it, but I feel like I'd like to see Jackie Chan with somebody else. But then I'm like,
Who?
But I don't want to watch
Owen
Shanghai
Wilson?
Noon.
Hill?
No, that's
You
what I'm
don't
saying.
like
I don't
Shanghai
want to
Noon?
watch
Yeah.
Shanghai Noon because Owen
Yeah.
Wilson is not the option that I would choose for that at all.
Karate
Exactly.
Kid?
Do you know what? That wasn't actually that bad.
I like.
I didn't see it.
It was not a bad remake.
It was not. Well,
It shouldn't. It should be the Kung Fu Kid. But
it was
yeah, sure.
fine. It was nowhere near as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
I thought Jackie Chan was really good in it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
It's funny how often I just watch movies thinking that, oh yeah, it's a Jackie Chan movie, and then being like, fuck, he's really good, man. Like, he's really good.
Yeah, he is, and that's why I liked watching Rush Hour this time. Sure, I
These parts
didn't
were
mind.
easily my favorite.
Exactly.
my
I
favorite
didn't
elements to it.
mind Chris Tucker and in his hilarity and entertaining thing that he did, but it was Jackie Chan that pushed me over the finish line. It was Jackie watching him and seeing all of the things that he can come up with.
See, I see this kind of a film as well. Like, I would compare it to a musical in that you get these musical numbers,
Yes.
which is the highly choreographed fight scenes
Yeah.
that are hilarious, and that they always, where that scene begins, it ends somewhere completely different. And that is, it's a fundamental thing that you often just do not see in films, is from you walk into the beginning of a scene and where the characters end up is somewhere completely different, or even in the same room, just in
Sure.
a different space. And it sounds silly, but there's something so stilted about a lot of filmmaking these days. And I mean, okay, what I like is Tucker's interrogation of his friend, like his fake interrogation of his friend who's got like the poker table at the back of this like pool bar. And at the same time, you've got Jackie Chan trying really hard not to get into a fight with these strangers. He's just realized he's made a terrible like mistake, and he's not sure how to not fight. And so you got this like back and forth of like Tucker like having some like ridiculous conversation about like, oh yeah, my mom bought me this, like, oh my cousin, my auntie, I'm going to tell her about you need to tell me about the girl. And then at the same time, you've got this hilarious action scene going on outside, and then they end at the same time, and then you walk out again, and it's just, I find that just so, I think it's really clever.
Well, that one was. It's funny. That was the one that I felt was the most egregious, and it's just we need to show Jackie Chan skills for a few minutes. Like,
the most egregious is actually the vase scene at the end.
That was my favorite.
They add that in.
I read that they add that in, and I actually find that one to be in the spirit of the conclusion. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The one in the bar felt like it kind of, we're going to stop the storytelling to have this kind of pool cue fight, and then we'll continue the storytelling.
Yeah.
And like, I get what you're saying, because it is kind of, it's doing, I don't think it did enough of that then, if that's, because I think it didn't cut between them enough to kind of, it could have done a nice little dance between them with, maybe like Tucker showing off his kind of verbal sparring
Kung fu,
abilities,
you might say.
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah,
I don't want to be quite so fucking on the nose, but
I know, I think he does.
yeah, maybe.
My mama bought me this suit. Like, I don't know.
No, there are elements in it that I think where it does do that. I think maybe it just kind of stuck out for me. I remember thinking that I was like, okay, cool, we had a fight, and now we carry on.
But again, it's like, walk in here, keep a low profile, don't talk to anyone, don't do anything.
And he ends up.
And of course,
And
he ends up embroiled in a fight he doesn't want to be. And again, like I think in that case, like they all just target him immediately and start just hurling things at him.
Yeah.
And he's just forced to defend himself in this sort of hilarious, artful way. I don't know.
Well, then
I really like that.
I always would watch him doing this. Like, he's incredibly watchable. And then, you know, but from, I guess, do I want to just watch an hour and a half of what is really cool kind of stunts, I guess, or like, you know, charismatic stunts? Because there is an element of like, he's very good at physically conveying his character during the fights. I think that's something he does really well too.
Which is the Charlie Chaplin-y, or even Gene Kelly is the other, like,
and it's,
you know.
And it's kind of like, but you know, what do I want to watch more? Do I want to watch like a compelling kind of structural story that, or do I want to watch Jackie Chan being Jackie Chan? And in moments like that, I have like this internal argument where I'm like, that's so great. Like he's doing some really great work. But then at the end of it, I think, but then I didn't feel like I got any functional ability out of that fight, like on a storytelling sense. And I think, well, you know, what are we, should I just be fine with that? Can I just be comfortable with that is a thing that we might occasionally stop, and it's effective maybe on a character level, but I don't think on a story structure level.
Well, it's a comedy as well, and I mean, I would consider it to the kind of riffing conversations you'll get in a Judd Apatow comedy. There's no point to this conversation, but it's funny, and I enjoy it, and there's something insightful here that has literally nothing to do with the rest of the film. Like, I think in comedy, that is something that you're going to do, or in a musical, you are going to
have a
take,
break.
you are going to leave the plot and do a musical number, and it won't necessarily, like, sometimes you don't. Obviously, Singing in the Rain, gotta dance, like, you know, that goes all the way, and I never remember where I've been when I come back from that number. Do you know what I mean?
So look, as because we do want to wrap this up, we want to move on to our next segments.
Sure.
There are. We like to kind of go through and just kind of talk some interesting points that we picked up on a film, just little things that we probably won't even start a full conversation, but just little interesting things that we picked up as we went. So Nick, this is just a little bit one for us. Did you happen to notice we've got a running theme going on in our show at the moment?
No, what is it?
It's called Young John Hawkes Watch.
Young Hawks. Oh, yes.
We had a spotting of the young John Hawkes in Rush Hour.
I did see him
selling
John
selling the programs outside the
bus tours.
Chinese theatre.
Oh, from Deadwood, etc.
Well, because we did a show on From Dusk Till Dawn a couple of weeks ago.
Is he in that?
He is.
Young John Hawkes pops up as the clerk at the convenience store at the start that gets blown up.
He's like the Max von Sydow, but young.
There you go.
Always.
Oh, I love Max von Sydow. So I'm very excited we get to add a second bow to our Young John Hawkes instrument.
Yeah.
And I look forward to many more of those to come. I feel like he's one of those guys that
just like pops up and you're like, oh my God.
Things.
Yeah,
probably.
That's so true. That's so true.
I look forward to seeing him again.
Yeah.
Well, that's our
Rush Hour.
That might be our Rush Hour conversation done, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone wants to add?
No, I think we've talked it.
Yeah. Thanks for the recommendation, Jemima. This has been a very
should maybe see Rush Hour in a different light.
Yeah, and that's
definitely a different light.
That's good.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
that's it, man. So we're going to move on to our next segment. We've decided.
Yes.
Does this segment have a musical theme or not?
Well, it's a new segment because
it is.
It's our first. You are our first guest, Jemima.
Ooh, okay.
So this is a segment that is relevant only to our guests.
That's true. We're only doing it when we have guests on.
Yes. So
oh no,
just give me
I'm
1
scared
second.
now.
It's all right. You're going to be totally fine.
I'm the first guest though. Okay.
We're calling it Grilling the Guest.
Grilling the Guest.
Oh.
And what we've come up with, it's a it will be an ever changing list. I
Absolutely.
think.
Mm-hmm.
But it is essentially a game of Who'd You Rather.
Okay, sure.
So we're gonna put the
like
ticker
fuck,
on.
marry, or kill, or like
no
almost.
Okay.
We're only giving you two options.
Would I rather do that? Okay,
yeah.
right. Sorry.
You
no,
got two.
Okay.
Would I rather do that?
I love that game.
We're going to give you two related things.
Sure.
Okay.
And you are going to, without thought, answer as spontaneously as possible.
Okay.
Who would you rather?
Yeah.
Jemima, are you ready to play?
I'm so ready.
Who'd you rather? Who'd you rather? Scorsese or Spielberg?
Scorsese.
Alien or Predator?
Predator. That's unpopular, but Predator. Alien's got a
Stallone?
film. Oh, fuck,
Stallone
yeah.
or Schwarzenegger?
Schwarzenegger.
Lion King or Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, good answer.
Judi Dench or Helen Mirren?
Neither.
Neither. Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Oh, nice.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, Star Trek largely. Next gen. Yep.
Blade Runner Replicant or not Replicant?
Not Replicant.
Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire?
Gene Kelly. I know,
Oh,
sorry,
that was a
but
good one.
love them
And
both.
our last one?
And the last one, Freddie, Jason or Michael?
Literally none. I just didn't watch any of those
Wow.
movies. Freddie, because he's a bit cray. I don't know. Like I like the dream
right.
element.
Yeah,
Nice.
good call.
Like
good
it.
call.
Good
All
call.
right.
Well, that was our segment.
No,
That was one more.
no, there's no more. We'll add some sound effects and make it seem like it
That
was,
was
there was
fun.
some sort of timer that we had to run on.
Yeah, you can cut all my rambling out too. Like
No, that's good.
we've got to
bits.
keep
That's
that.
good
We've got to
bits.
keep that.
okay.
I think pretty much all of them. Because you were going
Yeah.
to say something about Predator.
Predator
is a
Alien
better
is like a great art film, totally. Like
Sure.
it is, but I prefer Predator. I just like it more. But they're actually, I think, very similar plots in that you've got an
yeah.
ensemble cast being dropped into something and you don't really know what's going to happen, and then a demon comes and starts stalking them and killing them all. So really, they're not dissimilar films.
Alien plays it like an art house, quiet,
But
very
they
thoughtful piece. Predator plays it as like
As loud as
as
you can
fucking
get. Yeah.
these
For both.
big fucking dudes with the biggest guns
It's an
Like-
Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
getting.
But
Yeah.
Predator, they think that they're there to find some guys that have gone missing who are
Yeah.
protecting a dignitary or something like
yeah.
that.
Well, we talked about this
And,
as being
yeah.
That's
one of
true.
my favorite halfway flip movies is Predator.
Oh, that's right.
That
yeah.
if you don't know it's about an alien and you just sit down and watch this, you think it's just like a jungle action movie with Schwarzenegger. And I
they both
love
have-
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both have these two fantastic scenes. With the Alien, it's just before what's his name's stomach explodes, which are
Hurt.
these like candid, around the table having a chat. You know, it's in the helicopter in
Yeah.
in Predator, but
With
they're
is
these
it, what's the song
beautiful-
playing? It's Credence.
It's
That's
no,
not
no, no, no,
Credence,
no.
it's Little Richard.
Little
Oh, it's Little Richard, of
It's
course it
Long
is.
Tall Sally.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So
Do you know which one I want to ask about?
Oh.
Beauty and the Beast
Ooh.
v Lion King.
okay, so
Can I just say, before you say anything,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
All right.
okay, I think Beauty and the Beast has the greatest opening scene introducing characters of almost any musical.
Okay.
And I love Howard Ashman's lyrics are absolute works of art. Like my favorite line is in the Gaston song when he says, "As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating." Like the rolling, the genius of like rhyme and the economy of words and like the cuteness of them, and they're very queer. Like I know the new films are like, yeah, so gay friendly, but Ashman won a posthumous Oscar because he had died of AIDS, and he wrote these beautiful, and I think really like particularly his love of Gaston, like this sexualization of Gaston, I'm so on board with. Like I hate that they cut it in the new one. They cut and every last inch of me is covered in hair line.
Really?
Maybe he just didn't have. He couldn't back it up.
Oh, piss off. You can put that stuff on you.
It's true.
Come
But
on,
I
man.
think that they were just a little bit too self-conscious about it. And
Yeah, see, this is going back. The world has become so PC now.
Mm.
Like, why not put that in?
yeah.
Come
It's
on.
such a great line.
It's a
so
great.
cheeky.
I love Gaston.
And also, to be perfectly honest, it was a formative, like, I think, sexual sort of moment for me. Is like having a cartoon character bare a chest.
wow.
Like, I think that is like a beginning of some kind of erotic working. I will say with Lion King, it has the greatest voice cast of any film ever, and that they do not do that anymore. Like,
I miss
everyone
the
in
days.
everyone in that film is like a fantastic vocal performer.
Yes.
And
Well, they tend to cast just
Mandy Moore or
names
something. Yeah,
now. It's like
exactly.
it's a big name, and so let's get him in this cartoon. Whereas
Back then
in the 90s, Disney, they actually cast voice actors.
Yeah.
Still
James Earl
still
Jones,
my
yeah.
favorite is Judge Frollo from Hunchback.
Yes.
I love
Who
Hunchback
played him?
so much.
I love Hunchback.
Well, it's a it
Who
was
played Judge
just a,
Frollo?
it was
It's
just
just
a voice
actor.
Yeah, it's a no
Oh,
one.
wow.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. You don't really know him.
The other one more.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I like that. I'm just so surprised. When you said Spielberg or Scorsese, I'm like, what?
No, but
Anyway,
That's
yeah.
hard. That's hard.
No, but
Is
you know
it?
what? I think
Oh,
there's an
not for me.
argument for both. I think there is an argument for both, depending on what kind of films you call
Absolutely.
your films.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think now I would say Scorsese, but I think 25-year-old me would say Spielberg, because there's
Jaws
magic to
alone.
Spielberg.
Jaws.
There's a magic there that brings people to cinema.
Yeah.
I think Scorsese is the kind of guy that expands your horizons. Spielberg is the guy that
Starts you off.
shows you what magic you can create.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I feel there's arguments for both.
Absolutely.
Um,
I wouldn't be able to answer that question, by the way.
well, this is why it's quick fire.
It's
Because I think
it's-
in the heat of the moment, I think I'd be like, Scorsese.
I would literally go pass. I can't answer that.
Well, now it is now that we've grilled the guest, I like that segment. I
I
can't
like
wait
that.
to
Grill the guest.
That's
I can't
fun.
wait to do that.
Yeah, it will grow. I feel
It will grow.
It will definitely grow.
I want it to be something akin to the questionnaire done at the end of Inside the Actors Studio.
Don't do that.
I would love it to be
Ah.
something like that. I'd love to have it so well shaped that we could define personalities based on who you rather.
I despise.
What is your
them.
favorite curse word, Jemima?
Curse word.
When you reach the days of the pearly gates, what is it? Oh, piss off.
I do love it though. I'm
I
sorry.
I
actually-
do love it. I do, but unfortunately,
I've never
love
sat
him-
through a whole one.
I love
sorry.
him. See, there you go. I love him and hate him
It
just
can
as
be
much.
like you need to be in such a mood. Like you have to be prepared to handle so much indulgent wanking to get through
Yes,
an episode of
exactly.
Inside the Actors Studio. But if you're in that mood, it can be like
I
be
will-
really great.
I will admit something though. I will admit that watching the Dustin Hoffman one made me tear up a
No
bit.
way.
It was full on.
What was
and
his favorite
amazing.
curse word?
I didn't stay to that bit.
Mine would be fuckton.
Yours would be fucked up.
I can't wait to say it one day.
Yeah.
Hey, so we're going to move on to our world famous segment. Crossing
World
the Streams.
famous?
Yeah, it's world famous now. Jemima, do you
Crossing
know
the
the song to this one?
Streams. Of course she doesn't.
No, because you might have heard us singing it. This is the one where
Oh.
we channel out
Crossing
in
the streams. Is that it?
kind of.
She got
That'll
it.
do.
She got it.
We indulge. We invoke our inner rock hair metal gods.
Crossing the streams.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that.
Oh, I totally think you can.
Do you know what?
No.
Good try.
Can I say this?
Tys?
Why
run.
don't you go first, Jemima?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the segment that I was least prepared for. I
That's
have to
okay.
say, because sometimes I don't quite notice what's on.
Would you
okay,
like me to say
no,
mine
no.
while you
Right.
can have a think?
Okay,
No?
season 2 of Love is out, and I think it's even a little bit better than season 1. That's on Netflix.
Sure.
And
Very
it's a Netflix original, so
And
you can watch both seasons.
Who was the showrunner on that one?
What's his name? Paul Rust? Is he the creator or is he a showrunner?
Who's the creator? It's
Paul
somebody-
Rust, and he's in it as well.
Okay.
And Paul Russ has done.
Is the lead? Oh, do you want me to tell you about the show?
No.
No, because I've
I'm
looked
sorry.
up the
It's
show.
an Apatow
and-
production.
Yeah,
That's
Apatow,
what
yeah,
it
that's
is.
what I thought,
Apatow
yeah,
production.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does that? Do you reckon that gets people more interested or less interested these days? Are people still on the Apatow thing?
Turns me off. I was out of
I love
after This
him.
Is 40. I'm out.
I liked This Is 40.
Yeah, of course you did.
So did I really liked this.
I liked one scene in This Is 40.
Is that when they get stoned?
No,
That's
it's
funny.
when
That was so good.
when my favorite actress right now. Yeah, we're gonna stick with that.
Leslie Mann?
No, Melissa McCarthy.
Oh my god, I love her.
Melissa-
you guys, have
her
you done a
scene.
Melissa McCarthy film yet?
No, we haven't.
Please
We'll
have
bring
me-
you back in for that.
Please
We'll
have
see.
me back for
We'll see what
The
we're
Heat
doing.
or something like that. Oh my god, Buddy Cop
The Heat,
sequel.
my
we could do
favourite movie.
another Buddy Cop movie.
I like that.
I love The Heat.
No, we'll
I love.
definitely-
I
we'll
think.
definitely
I
get
hate
into
that.
Please do.
I hate that Sandra Bullock does not want to do The Heat too. Sandra Bullock, I think you suck.
I'm shocked by that.
Sandra
honestly.
Bullock.
Yeah, she's the one that turned it
Sandy.
down. Everyone else was on board,
Look, it
and she
might
was
be
the
a
one
really
knocking up.
bad script. And honestly,
Sure,
he
stick with
hasn't
that.
done a decent film since
Mm.
either.
But yeah, to answer your question, Tyson, no, I've turned off Apatow.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
The other thing is I mentioned him earlier in the podcast, I mentioned him earlier. All the Chris Lilly shows are up, with the exception of We Can Be Heroes.
I love to We Can Be Heroes.
I think they're actually on both.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And they're fantastic. Like, I'm a huge Lily fan. I just rewatched Jemima a couple of weeks ago in 2 sittings,
Sure.
and I just
They're super easily digestible, which
Yeah.
is excellent in that way. Like, you can just smash them out in 2 sittings like
and
that.
just so funny. And there's a formula to what he does, and I love it, and it's very distinct.
It works.
And
it definitely works.
It totally works.
Even
And it
when he,
makes
like-
me laugh to tears, and also I cry in every Chris Lilly
I-
production as well.
100%.
We Can Be Heroes.
We Can Be Heroes made me cry so much. And then...
Oh, we're Pat.
It was the one.
Pat.
Oh.
And then...
It wasn't even Pat. It was the husband.
It was Terry.
It was Terry.
You
Yeah.
know what?
That
Yeah, no,
turned it on
and you're
for me.
right. And it was... I appreciate his supporting cast a great deal.
Oh,
yeah.
Massively. They do a really great job at weathering his craziness
I think
and
as well,
making it
yeah.
feel really real when
But
you watch these shows.
There are plenty of times when I honestly forget that he's there.
Yeah.
And when I love realizing, like, oh yeah, it's this guy in drag, or it's this guy in
Yeah.
makeup, and I'm like, oh, I'd forgotten for a second, and you only remember in like the most ridiculous scenes, and you're just like, this is just exactly, like, how did the supporting cast Lester Ellis Jr. in Jemima, like, just being grinded up on and danced up on, like, it's just, he keeps it together so well, but is still just acts like a 17-year-old boy,
Yeah.
basically.
So I
also.
haven't watched what was after the high school. What was after? There was Jemima, but what
Summer
was?
Heights High, so then it was Jemima and Jonah from Tonga.
Yeah, but what was?
Well,
Well,
those
Angry Boys.
was
Angry
Sorry,
Boys.
in
Angry
between.
Boys.
Yeah.
Which
So I
is really
tuned
good
out of
too.
Angry Boys. I'd like
Go
to give
back.
it a shot.
Do it again.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it,
Yeah.
and it's free to streaming.
Yeah. You
There are
don't think
some-
that he's kind of pulling the chain a little bit too much? No.
No, because I think you
He's
can watch
alright?
even what I found with something like Angry Boys, because I didn't find all the characters as endearing as I
I think
had.
S Mouse is really bad. Like, that is
Right.
something I just don't get it.
But there's
Okay.
always enough in the shows, I think. There's always at least enough.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and I went back and I'd never watched Jonah from Tonga, and started watching it, and it's fine. Like, but even if it's not top tier Chris Lilly stuff, it's better than fucking 3/4 of the shit that is floating around at the
Absolutely.
moment.
I would much rather Chris Lilly than watching any Big Bang or 2.5 Men or anything like that.
I'm
There you go.
gonna mention
Tell us
mine.
yours. What's your crossover
So on
streams,
Netflix,
Tyrone?
at the moment, Netflix has just done a dump of a bunch of stuff, which is great. I love it when Netflix just decides, here's a whole fucking shit ton of stuff.
Shit.
I'm going to recommend Centurion, Neil Marshall film.
Oh wow.
From 2010.
Yeah.
With Michael Fassbender.
Oh,
You know?
yes.
Very cool, kind of really sleek action film about a Roman centurion who, while trying to rescue his commanding officer, him and a small band of his friends get stranded in the countryside and hunted down by the native people at this time, and I can't quite remember who they are. They're like the Scandinavians. They're the bad guys in like the King Arthur remake. It's that kind of vibe
Oh.
where it's
Jeez.
they've got the animal furs and
Yeah.
the face paint and stuff. But it's a real Neil Marshall, who made Descent that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
And Dog Soldiers, which is one of my favourite movies. If everyone's ever seen Dog
Love
Soldiers.
Never seen it.
Doomsday, which is the Escape
I've
from
heard
New
of
York
it.
knockoff, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
Um,
I heard
Neil
some-
Marshall knows his way around direction, and this film, like, it is an hour and a half. It is brutal. It gets in, it gets out. You know, I love my hour and a
you
half
love your
long movies.
quicks.
Rush Hour was 90 minutes. Sorry, yeah.
That's it. 90 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Get
It
it
was
done.
quick, wasn't it?
It is an incredibly good action film. This was early Fassbender when he was still kind of breaking through, and he does killer work. It's got Dominic West. Speaking of The Wire,
Oh, I like Dominic
we're having
West.
some
I
callbacks.
really
Yeah.
like Dominic West.
Me too. And I think it might be the first film of Olga Kurylenko, thank you, who popped up in Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie, and she's done some other stuff since then. This was her first thing, and she plays a mute. Oh my God, mute! We were talking about this the other week. The silent
She plays
the
a
silent
violent.
female.
Oh wow.
So yeah, she plays like this badass warrior woman in this
Yeah.
film who is terrifying, and she does
Yeah.
an exceptionally good job of it. It's a really great movie. It's far better than it would appear to be. It's a deeper action movie than just kind of what you think it might be.
Yeah.
It has kind of elements of Revenant to it,
Oh, okay.
in that kind of the spiritual element of survival in these situations.
Yeah.
I did
Um,
not see The Revenant.
That's a huge discussion, so I
Wow.
won't even get started on it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there you go. Anyway, that's my recommendation on Netflix. Get on it.
My crossing the stream, which is on Stan, which had to do with my what did I watch this week,
Mm-hmm.
is Unbreakable
All right, nice.
by M. Night Shyamalan, which is the
Great.
most underrated superhero movie out there
It is.
because there's not I believe. No, I'm going to stand by this. There's not an action sequence. There isn't an actual fist fighting
That
action
fight
sequence.
in when he goes to rescue the children or whatever. When they
Well,
go to
there's
rescue
that.
the children. What a silly sentence. When he follows that man home
Yeah.
or whatever, and
You don't see it.
Yeah.
You see shadows. You see, and
he
it's
does,
pretty
he does
brutal.
A
It's
giant,
massive
he does
brutal.
a sleeper hold that goes for like 3 minutes. Like that's
and it's
a
amazing.
fight.
But compare Unbreakable to any Avengers or Iron Man or anything.
and going back
to
to
it's beautiful.
talking about what he used to do really cool, M. Night,
Mm-hmm.
that the opening scene, when she gives birth to Julius,
Beautiful.
how it's all filmed through like the reflection of a dirty mirror or something, or like through a glass.
It's
or
a
something.
gorgeous
Yeah.
first scene,
Like-
and the glass.
And
They
There you
call
go.
me Mr. Glass. Oh, I love. It's so sad. It was
It was such a brilliant movie. It really was.
yeah, I like Unbreakable a lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
just
Still
the color of
not
that
my
movie.
favorite,
Like
but-
still,
Yeah.
it's the coloring. It's everything. I just love it.
Also, his first scene creeping on that woman though is just so awkward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and the little subtle wedding ring removal.
Taking the
Removal,
wedding ring
yeah.
off. She
Absolutely.
literally has to stop sitting next to him
Yeah.
because he's making her that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, and this is the hero of the film.
And just the
I'm like, ugh. Anyway, like,
the scene
Yeah.
where like the
I
build
watched it recently as well. so
slowly
yeah.
builds up the tension of him like in the basement, kind of being quiet but finding out that he has powers by just putting anything on the
Putting more things
dumbbells.
on the dumbbells.
Just put anything on the dumbbells, and
Mm.
Yeah.
such a good movie.
If I ever do come back otherwise and it's not for the heat,
You would like to do Unbreakable?
I would like to do Split
Or you would like to do Split?
or any M. Night film, but you guys need to have seen Split next time we hang out. That's
Okay.
that's
Wow.
my rule.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. She's
Add
That's-
that
that's
to
doable.
Tyson's Terror Tuesdays or whatever.
I tried
Yeah.
to put it Tuesday.
If they have to be on
Yeah.
Tuesdays to make the alliteration work, I'm comfortable with that. I
I'm
think.
happy. I'm happy.
or
to,
Tyson's Terror Thursdays.
I'm willing to go to the nth degree with this. I really am. You have to be by yourself. I'm willing to take your housemates out
Oh,
for
this
a
is gonna
night
be
on the town.
disgusting.
It's not going to be disgusting. It's going to be fun.
But if we're gonna film me, I can't be in darkness.
Oh my gosh, no! What you should do?
you have
is
no idea
like,
the cameras that I can get, my
we'll
friend.
film you, and you have to sit outside just with earphones in the whole time,
Oh.
and just with the light of the phone. Like you have to watch it on a phone,
The ideal
just
way to watch
on your
films.
face,
Oh.
and
Phone.
that'll be terrifying even for the
On
other
its
people to
own.
watch. So.
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm not comfortable with this at all.
It's all right. We're going to have fun.
Well, I'm glad you're gonna have fun. All right, well,
Yeah,
let's
totally.
wrap it up. That's another episode in the books of Nick Tyson Videotape.
Yeah.
I want to thank our special guest, Jemima.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. It's
Thanks,
been an
Jemima.
absolute pleasure.
It really was fun.
I'm so excited to have you back on again. It's going to be great.
Yeah, please do. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jemima, just before, because now this is when we plug a whole bunch of stuff. Is there anything you want to plug again for yourself?
Please do.
Yeah, go to ScreenSacked if you're free on a Monday. It starts at when it gets dark, basically. And that's for...
Do you happen to know what's coming up?
they're doing a Jane Fonda.
Oh, cool.
Oh, rad.
So this week was... they... Horses, don't they? What's it called?
They don't shoot horses, do
They
they?
don't. Yeah, they shoot
Or
horses.
they shoot horses, don't they? Yeah.
And next week is I forgot, but it's another Jane Fonda film. And yeah, watch my video on Phantom Menace and talk to me about Phantom Menace. And if you're like a closet Phantom Menace lover, then we're probably going to be best friends. So
So come out of that closet.
Good
yeah,
Lord.
Come
if you
chat
want
to
to talk
Jemima.
about George Lucas's genius in the prequel trilogies, just come at me. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Very good. Hey, Nick.
Yeah, buddy.
Where can people find us, man?
Yeah, Nick Tyson Videotape. Yeah, you can find us on iTunes. You
On
can
iTunes.
rate, review,
Rate and review us.
review us there. Go and do it. It'll be fun.
And subscribe because we're
Oh,
gonna
absolutely
Have,
subscribe.
we're gonna have heaps of guests. It's gonna be exciting.
It is
We're
going to
gonna
be fun.
We're gonna start a kind of regular rotation of some of our favorite people.
Absolutely. Even for if you just like Grill the Guest.
Why not?
Add to Grill the Guest.
Exactly.
Or you could you find us on Stitcher. You can find us on InTune Radio.
Tune in radio.
Tune in Radio. You can follow us on Twitter.
You can.
Nick Tice Videotape. There's no and in that one.
There is none.
And you can send us an email. Talk to us about what you thought about Rush Hour. Talk to us about what you thought about our rad friend Jemima.
How racist she is.
and what you think you should talk to her about Phantom Menace. If you want to. But yeah, you can do that. You can write us an email. Nick Tyson Videotape.
We'd absolutely love to hear from you. We're still
gmail.com.
we still need some suggestions for some segments.
Absolutely.
What did you watch this week? It's still not the ideal
It's not the
segment name
best.
at all.
It's not the best, is
I
it?
don't think.
It's not the best. We would like
and
something different.
As much as I like terrifying Tyson Tuesdays,
No, don't put the Tuesday in there. It's terrorizing Tyson. Maybe it should be the terrorize of Tyson. Maybe the terrorizing of Tyson. Maybe another T word, not Tuesday. And the only other place you can follow us is on Facebook, where we will put up all of
on Facebook, we've got a lot of content coming out on Facebook as well. So like us on Facebook, you'll get to see some photos. We'll share some things, stories about what we've been talking about in the episode.
absolutely.
Posters,
We'll
things.
put
It'll be
links
fun.
to Jemima's things,
And
on
we'll
Facebook.
put
Yeah.
all those links
Thank
up on
you.
that.
Absolutely.
And also, for those of you who are at all interested, you can listen to our episodes on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I
We're
keep
in the
forgetting
process
that
of
one.
uploading those. We've got the first 2 episodes up at the moment, so we're a little bit behind, but the rest will be up shortly.
And if you are excited about terrorizing Tyson on Thursdays, you can watch them on YouTube.
These will be on YouTube, yes, along with a whole bunch of other video-related content that we are in the process of working on.
I like to do a mad cackle because everyone's scared.
Next week.
Next week,
We're starting a new kind of segment for our main feature presentation.
that's true.
Like we did a couple of weeks ago with our It's on My List.
It's on my list. That's one of them.
Which was when we talked about a movie that somehow the two of us had missed ever seeing.
Yes, which was
which
Four
was
Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh,
Have you seen 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
I watched it recently, actually.
for the
Oh.
first time, or had you seen
Because
it?
of the
No,
podcast?
It was a follow-up. It was before the podcast. I
All
did
right.
see that you hadn't listened to your podcast. Sorry, I will.
Oh no, that's okay.
We really get to the to the bottom of 4 Weddings and a Funeral on that
Oh.
episode.
I would like to be honest. I'd like to hear what Jemima has to say about 4 Weddings.
it is
I'm-
Yeah.
yeah.
It really
yeah,
is.
wow.
It really
Just-
is, isn't it?
Oof.
Well, that
Yeah.
was it. So that was one of the segments.
that was
We're
one-
actually
yeah.
starting a new segment. We're going to need a name for it, so hopefully the name will come up soon. But we're going to do a bit of an original versus remake.
You don't like that title?
I think we need to come up with something a little bit.
Original versus remake.
We need to come up with something a little bit more.
Yeah. But what are we watching for?
Well, we're going to watch the 2 different versions of Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the 1978. 1978, Nick. Do you want to just
Bear
give
with
me
me
that?
one
Give that a bit of a
second.
googs for me.
Oh, you're spot on, Tyson.
The
78.
Well, and also while you're there,
Yep.
so the 1978 original George Romero.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking that alongside
The 2004.
2004 Zack Snyder remake.
Mr. Zack. His
of Dawn
first
of the
ever
Dead.
step out.
It was.
Until
It was the big
Your
moment
balls.
for
favorite
Zack Snyder.
director.
He balls fucking everything up.
Yeah, do you know
Yeah.
what? I do like him. Yeah.
Oh, I loved him. I absolutely loved
did
him.
love him.
And we'll talk about that next week.
And we will be indeed. Hey, so thanks again, Jemima.
Yeah, Jemima.
I had so much fun.
I'm so
Thank
glad you
you.
did.
Really, this was really great.
I
You are
seriously,
welcome back anytime.
seriously didn't say her name enough for how rad her name is.
And well, you've already dibs down next M Night conversation.
Viewing,
Yeah.
yeah.
That you will definitely want to be part of that. So
And
that's
Melissa McCarthy.
And
There's-
Nate.
I lay claim to just those two. That's all.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
and for the rest of you all, you can hear me and Nick next week talking some Dawn of the Dead. Fun.
Original versus remake.
That's it. We're gonna have a better name for that.
I love that. What's wrong with that?
No, we need something like snappy, like
It's better than terrorizing
did it
Tyson on
better?
Tuesdays.
or
Who
something.
did it better?
I don't know, something shit
We're
like
not
that.
Fox News.
No, we are.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something cool, but what
you will
was I
see,
gonna
you will
say?
see us next week. You're terrible.
Hang on, let's do that again.
Okay.
But we will come up with something funnier, and we will.
You will see us. You did it again. It's getting late for my.
It's
for
getting
my- for my
really
teach.
late. I'm going to leave all this in. Good night, everybody.
Oh, really?
Bye, Jemima.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye, Nick.
Bye.
Bye.